Chapter 950, The Great Qian Noble Family Consultation Chamber, 7 Chimes of the Clock. These are my 2 good-for-nothing disciples, Hu Jiwei and Kui Site. Fan Taining introduced the 2 youngsters to Wang Teng. Then, he said to his 2 disciples, "This is Rune Master Wang Teng. He will be staying with us. Do not be impolite to him." Rune Master. Hu Jiwei and Kui Site were stunned. They thought that they had heard wrong. At first, they were curious about the identity of this young man who came back with their master. They thought that it was his new disciple. Yet, their master told them that this was a rune master. This was incredible. They were of a similar age, but his rune mastery had exceeded theirs. They didn't think that Fan Taining was joking with them. They were dumbfounded and quickly greeted Wang Teng, Master Wang Teng. In the universe, power and status were everything. Since Wang Teng was a rune master, even though he was around their age, they must treat him politely. Wang Teng gave a reserved smile and nodded at them. He didn't act proud or too amiable. He had status. If he was too friendly, Fan Taining might look down on him. "Master Wang Teng, please follow me. I'll show you your room." After the introduction, Fan Taining led Wang Teng into the house. He brought him to his room enthusiastically. "This room faces the sun, so the lighting is good. You'll be able to see the scenery in the backyard by pulling the curtains up. What do you think? Not bad. I'll stay in this room then." "Sorry to trouble you," Wang Teng smiled and replied. "You're too polite. This is nothing." Fan Taining waved his hand. Then, he said to the robot behind him, "Ella, tidy the room and prepare lunch. Use the best food to welcome our guest. Oh, and bring out my treasured baccarat golden rum." "Yes, my dear master," the robot called Ella replied. Then, it started to get busy, portraying the role of a robot butler perfectly. "This robot is quite useful," Wang Teng exclaimed. "Haha, these kinds of butler robots can't be compared to battle robots. They are the cheapest. Once you enter the Secondary Career Alliance and get a few missions, you will be able to afford it too." Fan Taining laughed and replied. "It looks like I have to enter the Secondary Career Alliance soon. I don't even have money to eat now." Wang Teng mocked himself. "Ha ha ha." Fan Taining burst out laughing. Hu Jiwei and Kui Site stared at each other when they saw Fan Taining's attitude toward Wang Teng. This didn't seem like their master at all. He always had a stern face. Was it just a disguise? In the afternoon, Wang Teng received Fan Taining's warm welcome. All the dishes were prepared by Force Chef Masters. As for the baccarat golden rum, it was said to be produced on a planet known for making great rum. It had been kept for 100 years and was given to Fan Taining by a celestial stage martial warrior who had a favor to ask from him. He couldn't bear to drink it, but he took it out to welcome Wang Teng today. This showed his sincerity. Wang Teng fully savored it. He had to admit that this was a good bottle of rum. It was of a higher grade than Lafite and Romani Conti. He twirled his glass lightly. The alcohol inside was gold in color. It was beautiful and extravagant. Its taste was fragrant and intense, mesmerizing the drinker. Fan Taining and Wang Teng had a good conversation at the dining table. Fan Taining asked him a few questions and received answers for all of them. This made him even more enthusiastic. After lunch, Wang Teng finally had the chance to get rid of this irritating old man. He left the house. He had something more important to do. Fan Taining and his disciples watched Wang Teng go. His disciples finally couldn't help but ask, "Master, where did Master Wang Teng come from? He's so young." "I brought him back from the number 4 defense planet." Fan Taining smiled proudly. "I don't know his exact background or his identity. This isn't something you should ask either. You just have to know that his rune mastery is high. If you have the heart, you can ask him for advice. It will be of great help." Hu Jiwei and Kui Site were even more astounded. They didn't think that their master would think so highly of Wang Teng. "Of course, you mustn't disturb him." Fan Taining couldn't help but remind them. "Yes." The 2 of them turned serious when they saw Fan Taining's stern gaze, replying in a hurry. Wang Teng didn't know what happened after he left Fan Taining's house. At this moment, He was heading to his next destination with the help of Roundball's guidance. He called for a rune energy flying car, paid the fare, and headed to the center of the city. Things were a little troublesome in Great Chen City. One couldn't fly randomly, or it would be seen as a provocation. If one accidentally flew over a powerful martial warrior's head, he might get struck down instantly. Of course, it was forbidden to fly in the city in the first place. Even Heaven Stage and Universe Stage martial warriors had to abide by this rule. You could do whatever you wanted once you left the city. The rune energy flying car traveled at a fast speed. After some time, they reached their destination. Wang Teng alighted and looked at an ancient and towering palace-like structure in front of him. He was in awe. This was the district with the highest number of powerful martial warriors. It was also the most mysterious location. This was because the leader of the Great Chen Empire lived here. The Great Chen Palace. But Wang Teng wasn't going to the palace. His destination was the Great Chen Noble Family Consultation Chamber. There were many administrative buildings built around the Great Chen Palace. The Great Chen Noble Family Consultation Chamber was situated to the southwest of the palace. The Great Chen Noble Family Consultation Chamber was where matters of the nobles got resolved. This chamber possessed great power, the kind that could hold up the sky. If Wang Ting wanted to take back Nangong Yu's baron status, he must go through the procedures here. Of course, things weren't as simple as they seemed on the surface. He didn't come here today simply to get the title back. He also wanted to tell someone that he was back. He was back for Nangong Yu's baron status. He wanted to place himself in everyone's vision so that the people in the dark wouldn't dare to act rashly. He would do everything based on the rules of the Great Chen Noble Family Consultation Chamber. This was his outright and bold plan. After walking for a few hundred meters, the Great Chen Noble Family Consultation Chamber entered his vision. This was a dignified and majestic structure. It was shaped like a high tower, cutting straight into the sky. A huge black stone tablet was erected at the entrance. It was more than 10 meters tall, and the name of this building was carved in gold. When Wang Ting stood in front of the stone tablet, he felt immense pressure soaring toward him. Wang Ting snorted. His spiritual power surged out and blocked the pressure as he continued walking forward. He crossed the stone tablet and walked in. Immediately, he saw a giant bronze bell hanging right below the structure. Wang Ting, knock it. Round Ball's voice echoed in Wang Ting's mind. It sounded serious yet excited. The louder, the better. How many times? Wang Teng asked with shining eyes. 7 times. Round Ball replied. Why 7 times? Wang Teng asked. 7 times means there's injustice. It means an error in the inheritance of a title, Round Ball explained. Wang Teng didn't probe further. He took a step forward and glanced around him. He didn't see anything he could use to knock the bell. He frowned. Use your fist, Round Ball said. Wang Teng felt helpless. A sharp glint appeared in his eyes. Since you said the louder the better, I'll let everyone hear it. Ancient God's body, activated. Boom. An occult golden pattern appeared in the middle of Wang Teng's forehead. Boundless strength surged out of his body like a powerful current, tossing and turning in his limbs. 4th level strength of Ultima. Wang Teng released his fist and slammed it on the bronze bell. Bang! The bronze bell vibrated, and a dull sound came out of it, spreading out in circular sound waves. What happened? A figure sitting in the dark in the depth of the Great Chen Noble Family Consultation Chamber opened his eyes abruptly and exclaimed in surprise, someone knocked the bronze bell. I wonder what's the matter. As the ringing of the bell spread, the people around it heard the noise too. They stopped in their tracks and looked in the direction of the chamber. Everyone wondered what had happened. Wang Teng's expression changed. He felt a powerful and enormous vibration coming out from the bronze bell, forcing him to take a step back. Not enough. He didn't think that the bronze bell would be so difficult to knock. Even a 2-star ancient god's body couldn't handle it and was forced to retreat. Wang Teng made a decision and quickly added blank attributes to his ancient god's body. Ancient god's body, 130000, 3-star, after using more than 80,000 blank attributes, he managed to raise his ancient god's body to the 3-star level. Boom, boom, boom. His heart started beating like a drum. Fresh blood flowed around his body like a stream of mercury. There was a tinge of gold in his blood. Dense golden patterns appeared on his bones, increasing in number compared to when he was at the 2-star level. In an instant, Wang Teng's physique started to change. He became extremely tough and strong. He was like a human-sized ferocious beast. Round Ball thought that Wang Teng's knock was good enough. But it also felt the frightening change in his physique. He had become many times more powerful than before. What a monster, it muttered to itself. Its voice was drowned out by the sound of the bell. Bang! Wang Ting punched the bronze bell again. This time, he didn't stop. He continued punching the bronze bell and bore with the vibration it released forcefully. All his punches crashed heavily on the bell. Bang! 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 He released 6 punches at once. Each time, it got harder and harder. The vibrations released by the bell increased in intensity. But Wang Teng didn't move. His lean body remained as sturdy as a mountain. Each punch was more powerful than the last. The noise it produced got louder too. It echoed in the air and astounded numerous people. 7 times. Something huge was about to happen. The person's expression in the great Qian noble family consultation chamber changed. He stood up and strode toward the door. "My name is Wang Ting. I come with the Nangong family's token." A loud and clear voice followed the echoes of the bell. Chapter 951. Who dares to bring up the old case? An extremely loud voice came from outside the great Qian noble family consultation chamber. Baron Nangong. At the same time, countless martial warriors in the great Qian city heard this voice. Especially the ancient and noble families. They were astounded by the voice and looked in the direction of the chamber in surprise. Wang Teng's arrival was like a pebble slapping on the calm surface of a pond. It formed conspicuous ripples. In the Cavendish family where Di Chi was. At this moment, he was standing beside a handsome middle-aged man. He smiled as he said, "This suits that young man's style. He always likes to make a huge scene. He isn't afraid at all." "You must be talking about Wang Ting." The middle-aged man laughed. "Yes, it's him. He's a bold one. But I didn't expect him to be so direct. He's smart. He has to face those people, so it's good to put things on the table. It's safer this way, and he also gets to take the initiative." The middle-aged man had never seen Wang Teng, but he was full of praises for him. "I'm just afraid that those people might act shamelessly," Di Chi said worriedly. "You want to help him?" the middle-aged man asked. "It's worth helping him. He has the potential," Di Chi nodded hesitantly. "Offering help in times of trouble is better than the icing on a cake. Help him if you want to. The Cavendish family has never been afraid. If you can't win, I can fight. If I can't win, your grandfather can fight. If your grandfather can't make it, we can bring out our ancestor to breathe some fresh air." The middle-aged man patted Di Chi's shoulder. The corners of Di Chi's mouth twitched when he heard the rebellious words coming out of this middle-aged man's mouth. He peeked at the sky carefully before inching away from the middle-aged man. He found him dangerous. Nangong Yu has disappeared for 1,000,000 years. The final judgment has been made, but now, another inheritor has appeared. There's a good show to watch. The middle-aged man didn't notice Di Chi's actions. He was still laughing happily. Many people had the same thought. To these ancient noble families, they wouldn't act over a baron's title. Also, it had nothing to do with them, so they wouldn't interfere in it. However, it was rare for something interesting to happen in Great Qian City. Many of them were happily waiting to watch the show. They just lacked some popcorn. The Nangong Baron residence. The name hadn't changed, but the owner had. In a reception room within this residence, a handsome man with brown hair and around 30 years old heard the bell and Wang Ting's voice. With an ugly expression, he threw the item in his hand on the ground. Bang! This was a pair of crystal-clear jade balls. It was easy to tell that they were expensive. However, they were thrown to the ground and smashed into pieces. Who is it? Who dares to bring up the old case? Bastard! Where did this brat come from? How dares he go against my cow family? The man was infuriated. His gaze turned sharp. Killing intent boiled in them. I don't care who you are, you must die. The Baron's title can only belong to the cow family. No one can snatch it. Get my car. I'm going to the chamber. The brown-haired man strode out of the room and boarded a rune energy flying car. He raced in the direction of the chamber. Baron Nangong. The expression of the middle-aged man walking out of the chamber changed again. He stopped in his tracks and vanished on the spot. When he reappeared, he was already at the entrance of the great Qian noble family consultation chamber. Right in front of Wang Ting. He sized up the young man in front of him carefully. Wang Ting had just stopped using his ancient god's body, so the golden pattern on his forehead had disappeared. Only a hint of his intense vitality continued to float in the air. Astonishment flashed past the middle-aged man's eyes. He could tell that Wang Ting was only at the planetary stage. This was the ability Wang Ting put on display to his opponents. But he was amazed by the power of this boy's physical body. Based on the echo of the bell, he thought that it was a cosmos stage martial warrior punching it. Yet it was just a planetary stage martial warrior. This was shocking. His expression turned serious as he asked, "You are the one who knocked the bell of the chamber?" Wang Ting already knew that there was a formidable warrior coming toward him. This person was above the cosmos stage. He might have reached the heaven stage. He glanced at the middle-aged man uncontrollably. The middle-aged man had grey hair and was tall. He wore a white robe, exuding an outstanding aura. Wang Ting remained composed. He nodded and replied, "Yes, it's me. My name is Ming Cheng. I'm a guardian of the great Qian noble family consultation chamber. I'm on duty today." The middle-aged man introduced himself. "Guardian Ming Cheng." Wang Ting greeted him. "You said that you came with the Nangong family's token. Are you referring to Baron Nangong?" Ming Cheng asked. Wang Ting didn't waste any time. He opened his palm, and a square seal appeared on it. Ming Cheng squinted. He was the guardian of the great Qian noble family consultation chamber, so he recognized all the symbols of the noble families. There was a black beast carved on the square seal. This was the Kunwu beast, the country's divine beast. The Kunwu beast was a holy presence. It was a rare universe behemoth. It was a real creature. It could swallow metal ores to raise its ability. When it became an adult, it would grow to the size of a giant planet. It ruled over the universe and was extremely powerful. When the pioneers of the great Qian Empire built the empire, they relied greatly on the help of the Kunwu beast. From its style and design, this was the Baron's square seal. Every time the Kunwu beast's ability increased, it would grow a horn. There was only one horn on the Kunwu beast on the Baron's square seal, indicating that it was the lowest level seal. When the rank of the person rose, the number of horns on the Kunwu beast would increase respectively. But to be safe, Ming Cheng still wanted to study it. He asked, "Can I take a closer look?" Wang Ting hesitated, but he still gave him the seal. Ming Cheng held the square seal and executed some skill. The ancient words on the bottom of the seal started to give off a red glow. It was glaring. "This is indeed the Baron's seal." Ming Cheng sighed. He returned the square seal to Wang Ting and stared intently at him, saying earnestly, "You should keep this seal properly." Wang Ting pocketed the seal. "Follow me." Ming Cheng took the lead and walked into the chamber. As he walked, he explained, "It's been a long time since this case happened. Honestly, I don't have the power to deal with this matter. We can only wait for the elders to come and let them decide." They crossed a not-so-long corridor and arrived at an ancient-looking but extravagant lobby. Ming Cheng ordered his men to serve some tea. Then, he sat at the side and waited with closed eyes. Chapter 952. So, what do you mean by perfectly justifiable? Wang Ting didn't have to wait long. The noble elders hurried over to the great Qian noble family consultation chamber when they received the news. Rune energy flying cars stopped outside the chamber one after another, and powerful figures stepped out of the cars and strode toward the building one by one. Many people who had heard the news gathered around the chamber. Some were watching the show, while others were trying to get information. However, no one dared to go within 100 meters of the building. The Great Qian Noble Family Consultation Chamber was an extremely solemn and sacred place in the Great Qian Empire. Not even nobles dared to enter the chamber easily, not to mention make noise in front of it. This time, a flying car landed from the sky, and a brown-haired man who was in his 30s came out. He was the one from the Cao family. It's Cao Guan. He came. He's the other main character in this matter. How could he not come? I heard his father Cao Hongtu was cultivating on another planet and couldn't rush back in time. That's why he is in charge now. The people outside were discussing in low voices and were extremely enthusiastic. For ordinary martial warriors, matters concerning nobles were always the focus of attention. After all, the nobles enjoyed too much preferential treatment. Whether it was jealousy or envy, people would pay attention to them subconsciously. Cao Guan heard what they were discussing and snorted as he strode into the consultation chamber. In the chamber's lobby, Ming Cheng opened his eyes and said, "All the elders are here. Please follow me." Wang Ting was calm. After drinking his last sip of tea, he stood up and followed Ming Cheng. This made Ming Cheng even more surprised. What kind of trump card does this fellow have such that he has no fear at all? Or is it because he doesn't understand the significance of the consultation chamber? Wang Ting followed Ming Cheng and arrived at the 9th level of the chamber. He then entered a huge and quaint hall. The first thing that caught his eye was a long table made of an unknown navy blue wood, which looked thick and uncommon. At this instance, everyone was seated around the long table. There were men and women of different ages. They were all dressed in purple robes, looking luxurious and noble with innate self-restraint and elegance on their faces. Most importantly, these people had immense auras which far surpassed that of cosmostage martial warriors. Even if they sat there motionless, people would still feel their hearts palpitating. This was the pressure from the strong. When Wang Ting entered the hall, everyone looked at him with different intentions. Overwhelming pressure crept up on him. Whoa, what a huge spectacle. Wang Ting smiled in his heart. His footsteps didn't stop, and his expression was extremely calm. It was like he wasn't affected in any way. There was a hint of surprise in everyone's eyes. This young man is interesting. These all are the nobles of the empire, representing the ancient families with respectable statuses and great strength. Be careful. Round Ball reminded him. Wang Ting suddenly felt a hostile gaze falling on his body, which never left him. Following the gaze, he saw that there was a brown-haired man staring at him with cold eyes at the end of the long table. Who is that? Wang Ting asked in his mind. I don't know either. Round Ball sized up the man and was suddenly taken aback, but he seems familiar. Is he that bastard's descendant? Please take a seat. At this moment, a slightly old voice came from the head of the table. Wang Ting looked up and saw an old man with pale hair sitting in the head seat. He was looking at him calmly. That's the head of the council. Round Ball said, back then, we met once when Master Nangong inherited the title of Baron. I didn't expect him to still be alive after all those years. How can such a strong person die so easily? Wang Ting ignored Round Ball. He couldn't even gauge how strong the other party was with his spiritual sight. This old man might be a universe-stage martial warrior. Wang Ting found that there was an empty seat at the end of the long table, which happened to be directly opposite the brown-haired man. He then walked over and sat down before looking straight at him. Cao Guan was dazed. Does this fellow know who I am? Such fearlessness. Who gave him the courage? Who gave him the guts to be like this? Cao Guan's eyes became even more gloomy, but he had already retracted his gaze. Having a staring challenge was demeaning to his status. Wang Ting sneered in his heart. A staring challenge? I'm not afraid of you. As long as he wasn't embarrassed, the one who was embarrassed would be him. The others could see Wang Ting's behavior. Many people showed interest, but there were also others who frowned. Since Nangong you didn't have any descendants or inheritors, his only disciple, Cao Hongtu, inherited his baron's title. This could be done without any will. Cao Hongtu also used many of his connections to gain multiple votes in the chamber and received the right to take over the baron's title temporarily. Once he made enough merits and contributions, he would be able to kick away the temporary and become the real baron. However, a young man suddenly appeared with the baron's seal and the non-existent will became a problem. Baron Nangong didn't leave behind any will. The old man glanced at Cao Guan and replied for him. I understand. Thank you for your answer. Wang Teng nodded. He turned and looked at Cao Guan, his tone calm. In that case, what do you mean by perfectly justifiable? You. Cao Guan's face turned green with anger. He stared at Wang Ting as if he wanted to eat him up. Chapter 953, The Parker's Family, one of the 8 dukes of different surnames. I don't think your father dares to say that this is perfectly justifiable, right? Wang Ting ignored Cao Guan's death glare and leaned against his chair. He found a comfortable position for himself as he spoke. There were many ways to distinguish the authenticity of a will in the martial warrior's world. Thus, Cao Hongtu didn't dare to fake a will. If he did that, he would be belittling the great Qian noble family consultation chamber and the authority of the empire. He would be punished severely even if he was a universe stage martial warrior, much less a heaven stage martial warrior. Cao Guan's face turned red. Flames of anger almost shot out of his eyes. He realized that he couldn't gain any advantage in front of this young brat. All his words were useless. Moreover, this brat kept placing himself at the same level as his father. It sounded as if he was a generation younger than him. This was frustrating. This interesting scene caused many people to look at Cao Guan. Wang Ting's performance was unexpected. They didn't think that this young man who appeared out of nowhere had such a sharp tongue. He managed to render Cao Guan speechless. Also, Wang Ting was just a planetary stage martial warrior. To the people present, a planetary stage martial warrior was nothing. Yet this planetary stage young man was able to remain composed in front of them and refute Cao Guan's questions with a reasonable argument. His performance was outstanding. Many people had a good first impression of Wang Ting. In comparison, they had a bad impression of Cao Guan's family. They didn't mind watching him make a fool of himself. Wang Ting, you're good at talking back to people. You didn't disappoint me. You did well. Round Ball laughed happily in Wang Ting's mind. Wang Ting didn't know what to say. Somehow, it doesn't sound like a compliment. Don't misunderstand. I'm definitely praising you. Round Ball chuckled as it said resolutely. Everyone. A voice resounded. Everyone got attracted by it and looked over, including Wang Ting. A bald and muscular hunk had his hands crossed on the table, with a blue flame symbol marked on his forehead. Blue flames were shimmering in his eyes like real flames burning. When he scanned the crowd, many people frowned. They seemed afraid of him. Cao Guan was elated when he saw the bald hunk speaking. Wang Ting noticed this change too. He turned serious and asked in his mind, Round Ball, do you know this person? I don't know him, but he's probably from the Parker's family, Round Ball explained quickly in a stern tone. The Parker's family? Are they famous? Wang Ting asked. They are one of the 8 most ancient families in the empire. It is said that their ancestors killed a universe behemoth, the blazing giant dragon. They bathed in the dragon's blood and gained a powerful fire physique. They can absorb all kinds of special flames for their own use, so their battle ability is extremely powerful. Look at the blue flame symbol on his head. This is the symbol of the Parker's family. At the same time, it represents a special flame, Round Ball said. The blazing giant dragon, Wang Ting exclaimed in surprise. I didn't know such legendary creatures existed in the universe. The universe is vast. Nothing is strange here, Round Ball said with contempt. Wang Ting was so ignorant. The Parker's family bathed in the dragon's blood and gained a special fire physique that allows them to absorb special flames into their body. If I can get the blazing giant dragon, how amazing will it be? Wang Ting was excited. He wished he could find a blazing giant dragon immediately and knock attributes out of it. Round Ball, where can you find a blazing giant dragon? He asked instantly. I don't know. Universe behemoths like the blazing giant dragon are a mysterious and rare presence. Ordinary people won't be able to find them. I only know that they live in places full of fire force. It might even be the birthplace of a divine flame. Round Ball smiled. If one can find the blazing giant dragon, he might be able to find a divine flame too. Wang Ting's eyes lit up. A divine fire. He possessed the emerald-glazed flame and the holy flame, so he knew how amazing divine fires were. If he could get another divine fire, how great would that be? What are you thinking? Your saliva is almost dripping down, Round Ball suddenly asked. Wang Ting, stop thinking about the blazing giant dragon. You have no chance of surviving if you meet one. Every blazing giant dragon is extremely powerful. Adult dragons are at the eternal stage or above, Round Ball continued. Eternal stage and above. They are more powerful than the divine tempest bird. Wang Ting widened his eyes in surprise. What do you think? Round Ball was speechless. All right. Wang Ting shook his head, giving up on the thought of finding the blazing giant dragon temporarily. His gaze then landed on the bald muscular hunk again. But this fellow seems to have lots of attributes for me. The Parker's family possessed the fire physique. They could merge with fire. Even if it wasn't as powerful as the blazing giant dragon, it wouldn't be weak. His eyes lit up again. To him, the bald muscular hunk and the family he belonged to became his sheep, the kind with lots of attribute bubbles for him to collect. Be careful. This family is obsessed with fire, and they are domineering. They will snatch any fire they see. If they know that you possess a divine flame, they will try all kinds of ways to snatch it from you, Round Ball reminded him. Wang Ting went speechless. He was thinking about how to get more attribute bubbles out of the other party, but Round Ball told him that the other party might be eyeing his divine flame. He couldn't bear this. Let them come if they want. Let's see who will be the winner. Wang Ting was furious. Oh right, I forgot to tell you that the Parker's family has a hereditary duke title. They are one of the 8 dukes of different surnames in the empire, Round Ball said calmly. F***K. Wang Ting cursed in his heart. He thought that it was a fat sheep, but it was actually a frightening giant beast. However, Wang Ting had a merit. He loved to challenge himself. He was someone who dared to challenge the terrifying divine tempest bird to get some attributes out of it. Thus, even though the Parker's family was a huge beast, he wasn't afraid. He would still collect the bubbles he wanted. Of course, he wouldn't be as reckless as he was in the virtual universe. After all, this was the real world. He wouldn't get another chance if he died. Sinclaman, what do you have to say? The old man's voice pulled Wang Ting back into reality. Head of the council, let's put aside Cow Hongtus' inheritance issue. After all, he has made many great contributions to the empire on the battlefield. We mustn't dishearten him. The important thing now is to ascertain this person's identity. If he's speaking the truth, we can talk about the inheritance issue again. If he's lying, the bald Sinclaman raised his chin at the old man in front. There was a sharp glint in his eyes. The Great Chen Empire will never allow this to happen. Chapter 954. Come and kill your grandfather. Many people nodded after hearing Sinclaman's words. The empire had strict regulations regarding the inheritance of a noble title. There mustn't be any mistakes. Cao Hongtu was holding the baron's title temporarily, but even so, he needed to earn enough merits on the battlefield before he could rightfully inherit it. The empire gave preferential treatment to meritorious people. The old man nodded. He acknowledged Sinclaman's words. Cao Guan was overjoyed when he noticed that the situation was advantageous for him. Arrogance returned to his expression as he glanced at Wang Ting once again. Wang Ting. The old man looked at him and asked, "Do you have other items to prove your identity? Or has Baron Nangong left a will?" Wang Ting frowned. The remains of Nangong Yu's last spiritual mark had dissipated, and he didn't leave behind any will. Everything was passed to him through Round Ball. Besides the Baron's seal, there was nothing to prove his identity. This was a little troublesome. Actually, the Baron's seal was enough to prove his identity. But Sinclaman came from a powerful family, so the head of the council had to acknowledge his suggestion. Cao Guan laughed silently in his heart, But his gaze remained cold as he glared at Wang Teng. If he couldn't take out anything to prove his identity, he wouldn't be the rightful inheritor of the Baron's title. At that time, he would find ways to get rid of this young man. He was just a planetary stage martial warrior. Any celestial stage martial warrior would be able to kill him. He must be daydreaming if he wanted to snatch the Baron's title from his father. If you don't have it, your identity can't be confirmed temporarily, the head of the council said. Wang Teng felt helpless. This matter was developing beyond his expectations. The interference of the Parker's family caused things to go out of control. Nangong Yu is making things difficult for me, Wang Teng complained helplessly. Since he wanted Wang Ting to find justice for him, he should be better prepared. He should have left a will or something. It was better than allowing others to take the initiative. If Nangong Yu heard Wang Ting's complaint, he might leap out of the soil. He felt wronged too. He thought that Wang Ting would head to the Great Qian Empire after he got stronger, but he didn't expect the duo to act rashly and had the guts to come to the Great Qian Empire to snatch the title of a baron when he was only at the planetary stage. He underestimated Wang Teng and Round Ball's bottom line. Master Nangong didn't know that the Parker's family will interfere. Round Ball spoke up for Nangong Yu. It turned serious and asked in a puzzled tone, "Are they the ones behind Cao Hong too? But with their status, why would they lay their eyes on a baron's position? How would I know? Maybe they have some unknown secret." Wang Ting shook his head. "This is not the time to think about this. Quick, find a solution." I have no solution," Round Ball said with guilt. Seriously. Wang Ting wished he could pull Round Ball out and hammer its head. It kept boasting during normal times, but at the crucial moment, it was useless. Wang Ting could only rely on himself. His mind worked frantically. Suddenly, his eyes shone. "Oh right, I have the Legacy Palace. How can I forget about that? No, if you reveal that you have the Legacy Palace, the entire empire will learn of it once you step out of this place. At that time, many formidable warriors will lay their eyes on you, putting your life in danger." Round Ball stopped him hurriedly. Why would they lay their eyes on the legacy of a Cosmos stage martial warrior? Wang Teng was stunned. Of course, they will. What's more, Master Nangong's legacy isn't just a Cosmos stage martial warrior's legacy. It's the legacy of a baron from the Great Qian Empire. The Nangong family's foundation isn't just at the Cosmos stage, Round Ball explained. However, there's nothing above the Cosmos stage in the Legacy Palace. Wang Teng frowned. Your legacy mark can't open the Nangong family's treasure vault, Round Ball said calmly. Why didn't you say so earlier? Wang Teng felt like strangling Round Ball. It was so infuriating. It should have told him earlier. You haven't even reached the Cosmos stage, so it's useless even if I tell you. What's more, the treasure vault is in the Nangong residence. Since you have not inherited the Baron's title, you can't enter the residence. You can't do anything, Round Ball refuted. Wang Ting took a deep breath. He knew that Round Ball was right, but it was still infuriating. Head of the council, since he can't prove his identity, this inheritance is just a cock and bull story. I think we should expel him from the country. As for the Baron's seal, let's return it to the rightful owner. My father is the Baron's disciple. He has the right to possess the Baron's seal. Cao Guan's voice was heard at this moment. Wang Teng looked up. What an evil heart. He wanted to snatch the Baron's seal and expel him from the country. What a great plan he had. Wang Teng's gaze turned cold. He suddenly had the thought of killing Cao Guan. If he was expelled, they would most likely chase after him and try to kill him. The other party would not allow him to leave this empire alive. Also, without the Baron's position, he couldn't save Earth. The guardian of the Milky Way, Cloet, would be the first to kill him. You want the Baron's seal? Wang Teng asked without any expression on his face. You got it because of luck. You have no right to hold that position. My father is the Baron's disciple. Baron Nangong has died, so the Baron's seal rightfully belongs to my father. I'm just getting what's ours back. Cao Guan snorted. He became confident since there was someone supporting him. Cao Guan is right. The Baron's seal can't be in the hands of a person with an unknown identity, Sinclaman said calmly. Ha ha ha, Wang Teng suddenly burst out laughing. What a great example of the seizure by force. Is this how the great Qian Empire works? You've broadened my horizons. How dare you? Sinclaman frowned. He shouted, and a powerful pressure surged towards Wang Teng. Boom. Wang Teng's face turned pale. The ability of a heaven stage martial warrior wasn't a joke. He might be able to participate in a cosmos stage martial warriors battle, but there was still a huge difference between them and heaven stage martial warriors. Just the aura almost forced him to his knees. Break. Wang Teng glared at his opponent with his eyes wide and roared in his heart. His spiritual power exploded, and the giant dragon in his mind woke up from its hibernation with a loud bellow. Roar. Boom. The terrifying pressure above his head was pushed away in an instant. Wang Ting stood up straight and glared at Sinclaman. How dare you? You've got some balls to seize in front of everyone. Other people might think that you're the leader of the great Qian Empire and you can decide who the noble title belongs to. His angry shouts burst out of his mouth and echoed in the great hall. Silence. There was dead silence. Everyone was flabbergasted. No one expected Wang Ting to explode in anger and be so firm and stubborn. He dared to shout at a heaven stage martial warrior. He honestly didn't go by the book. Cao Guan stared at Wang Ting as if he was a ghost. His face turned pale. He got frightened by Wang Ting. Are you looking for death? Round Ball was in disbelief too. It stammered as it spoke. Extremely terrifying. It was too terrifying. Was Wang Ting really not afraid of dying? He dared to shout at a heaven stage martial warrior. Moreover, this man belonged to a family of dukes, one of the 8 dukes in the empire. Damn it. He was dead. Wang Ting was too reckless. He was tempting fate. The Parker's family was a powerful presence. They had no chance of resisting them. Sinclaman was stunned by Wang Ting's actions too. No one had dared to treat him like this. His expression turned ugly, and his lips turned a little pale. Anger was burning in his heart. Wang Ting's words had touched a taboo, the leader of the great Qian Empire. If this label was pressed on him, the Parker's family wouldn't be able to save him. This is bullshit. Sinclaman roared angrily. He got up and gritted his teeth. I have never said that I'm the leader of the great Qian Empire. How dare you make such irresponsible remarks and frame me? Do you think I don't dare to kill you? Since you have the intent, why don't you dare to admit it? Didn't you want to snatch my Baron's seal a moment ago? If you don't make the call, who does? Yet you still want to kill me to shut me up. You must be afraid that someone will discover your ulterior motives. Come, why don't you kill me here directly? Why all the trouble? Don't you find it tiring to talk too much? Come, kill me. If you don't dare, you're a coward. If I furrow my brows slightly, it'll be your grandson. Wang Teng wasn't afraid. He glared at Sinclaman and shouted continuously. The heaven stage martial warriors around him were stunned by Wang Teng. This fellow was a genius. He was extremely skilled at twisting one's words. Sinclaman looked as if he had just choked on his own words. Sinclaman turned green with anger. He was honestly seething with fury. Wisps of white steam rose from his head, signifying that he had reached the peak of his anger. Wang Teng decided to add fuel to the fire when he saw Sinclaman's reaction. He increased his volume and shouted, Come, kill your grandfather. Damn it. I'll kill you. Sinclaman couldn't bear it anymore. Killing intent surged in his heart, with flames of anger burning in his eyes. With a swoosh, the temperature around him increased exponentially. A blue flame appeared in front of him and congregated into an arrow. It shot toward Wang Teng directly. Die. Wang Teng didn't move. He was prepared to use his space talent if he needed to, but he didn't move. He stared at the arrow and allowed the wind to lift his hair into the air. He mustn't be frightened now. He believed that these people here wouldn't allow Sinclaman to kill him. If they did, the great Qian noble family consultation chamber wasn't worth all his effort. He could forget about getting justice here. The distance was short, So the blue arrow arrived in front of Wang Ting's eyes within a split second. However, when it was 3 inches away, it stopped in mid-air and couldn't move anymore. Enough. A calm voice rose gradually. Chapter 955. Who says I don't have evidence? The gentle shout was heard along with the faint sound of something flying through the air. The arrow formed from the blue flame disappeared without a trace. Wang Ting heaved a sigh of relief secretly, but his expression remained unchanged, still as calm as ever. He even raised his eyebrow at Sinclaman with a sneer at the corner of his lips. Stupid bald man, do you think I'll be afraid just because you look fiercer? The veins on Sinclaman's forehead bulged like snakes. If he wasn't stopped, he might have rushed forward and beaten Wang Teng to death. Sinclaman, Wang Teng, this is the noble family consultation chamber. It is not a place for you to wreak havoc. The head of the council glanced at them as he spoke calmly. Council head, you can't blame me. That stupid bald heavenstage martial warrior wanted to bully me because I'm weaker. He even wanted to snatch my baron seal. You must seek justice for me. Wang Teng's expression changed. He started acting pitiful. Stupid bald martial warrior? Cao Guan had just regained his composure when he heard Wang Teng's words. He was dumbstruck. Was this fellow sick of living? How dared he ridicule Mr. Sinclaman? The other people had weird expressions on their faces too. They wanted to laugh, but they tried their best to hold it in. They had all been trained in strict aristocratic etiquette. They would never laugh unless they honestly couldn't bear with it. Ha ha ha. Crack. Sinclaman clenched his fists tightly. Flames of fury almost surged out of his eyes as he raged silently in his heart. The head of the council felt his head throbbing. Wang Ting, please don't curse in the noble family consultation chamber. Yes, I understand. I was wrong. I'll never curse in this chamber again. Wang Ting nodded hurriedly. There seemed nothing wrong with this sentence, but it sounded a little strange. Would he continue cursing once he left this chamber? This young man was indeed a bold fellow. The head of the council felt the corners of his eyes twitching. It was difficult for him to lose his composure, but it only occurred for a split second. He soon regained his calmness. Since you're unable to prove your identity, we'll talk about this inheritance matter again after some investigation. Before that, you're not allowed to leave the city. Cao Guan was elated after he heard the verdict. Although he didn't achieve his goal today, this fellow wouldn't be able to become the inheritor if he couldn't prove his identity. Let's have an investigation. The other members of the council nodded and agreed with the head's decision. Wang Teng's performance showed them that this planetary stage martial warrior wasn't easy to bully. Thus, some members who stood on Cao Hongta's side didn't open their mouths. This young man dared to talk back to the Parker's family, one of the 8 dukes. If they stood up, they were just asking for a snub. They weren't afraid of Wang Teng. They were just afraid of losing face. In their hearts, they had already labeled him as a dead man. He had no chance of living after offending Sinclaman. They just had to wait for the result. Everyone got up and prepared to leave. They thought that this meeting had ended. Sinclaman snorted and glared at Wang Ting coldly. He seemed to have sentenced Wang Ting to death with his gaze. No one could survive after offending the Parker's family. Cao Guan smirked at Wang Teng. He patted his long gown and turned to leave with a contemptuous gaze. However, at this moment, Wang Teng sat down and said calmly, "Who says I don't have evidence?" Everyone stopped in their tracks in unplanned unison. Besides the head of the council, the others had already stood up. After hearing Wang Teng's words, they turned and looked at him in surprise. "Are you making a fool of us?" Cao Guan trembled and turned abruptly to glare at Wang Teng. This young man was able to prove it. Suddenly, he had a bad feeling. Sinclaman's gaze also turned gloomy. He furrowed his brows slightly. Only the head of the council remained in his seat, giving Wang Teng a meaningful smile. "Wang Teng, you're crazy." Round Ball knew what Wang Teng wanted to do. It started screaming in his mind, "No, you can't do it. You'll die. I have already offended the Parker's family. Why would I be afraid of other martial warriors?" Wang Teng's tone remained calm. He said softly, One more enemy isn't a problem. I won't die. You. Round Ball didn't know what to say. Wang Ting realized that everyone's attention was on him. He smiled and activated the legacy mark left by Nangong Yu. A rune appeared on his forehead. As this rune lit up, the Baron's seal on the table lit up in response. It seemed to be showing everyone the connection between them. This is legacy. This is the legacy. Nangong Yu passed the Nangong family's legacy to Wang Ting. All the members of the council were flabbergasted. Their expressions were interesting to watch. Cao Guan's face turned ugly. The legacy of the Nangong family. This was definitely the legacy of the Nangong family. Although his father was Nangong Yu's disciple, he didn't receive this legacy. They wanted to enter the treasure vault of the Nangong family all these years to gain the legacy knowledge, but without the legacy mark and the Baron's seal, they could only dream about it. They had the treasures, but they couldn't enjoy them. You could imagine how frustrated and exasperated they were. However, this legacy mark had appeared on Wang Ting. Cao Guan was green with envy. His eyes turned red and he wished he could snatch the legacy mark from Wang Ting and paste it on his head. Sinclaman remained expressionless. However, his gaze had turned sharper. I wonder if you guys will acknowledge my inheritor's identity with this legacy mark as proof. Wang Ting glanced around him as he spoke. He paused purposely when he saw Cao Guan and Sinclaman. Slap. This was a slap in their faces. It was a direct and brutal slap. The expression on the other people's faces turned ambiguous. They looked at Cao Guan and started to sympathize with him and Cao Hongtu, who wasn't present. The Baron's title was flying further and further away. It was right within their reach, but it had flown away just like that. Everyone could imagine Cao Hongtu's expression when he would receive this piece of this. If they were in his position, they might vomit blood out of frustration. Since you have the legacy, your inheritor's identity is justified. The head of the council nodded. His words were the verdict. It meant that the Great Qian noble family consultation chamber, in the representation of the Great Qian Empire, had acknowledged Wang Ting's identity. Cao Guan's face turned pale. Sinclaman flicked his sleeve and strode out of the great hall silently. Chapter 956. I didn't. You're spouting nonsense. You're framing me. Following Sinclaman's departure, some council members began gloating and started talking. Turns out that there is a legacy mark. If there's a legacy mark, then there's nothing to question. He should have taken it out sooner. He's just playing with others. Cao Guan and Sinclaman even wanted to take the Baron's seal away from his hands. This brat is really evil. Hearing those words, Cao Guan couldn't stay any longer. His face turned pale, and he glared at Wang Ting. At this moment, he was suffering torment like a cat on hot bricks. However, he didn't have the same status as Sinclaman and didn't dare to leave on his own. Wang Ting, there is no problem with your identity as an inheritor. However, to inherit the title of Baron, you will still need to pass the consultation chamber's assessment. The head of the council opened his mouth again. Assessment. Wang Ting frowned. That's right. Everyone who is inheriting the Baron title must go through an assessment. This is a rule of the Empire. Those who are not virtuous or lack potential would be unable to inherit the title, the head of the council explained. Wang Ting nodded and asked, when will I take the assessment? Don't worry. After discussing the assessment, we'll inform you about the contents of the assessment later. The head of the council continued, moreover, we will have to wait for Cao Hongtu, the temporary holder of the title, to return. He has made many contributions over the years, and we cannot just erase them. Wang Ting frowned again. He always felt that this matter wasn't that simple. However, judging from the head of the council's tune, it was obvious that this matter wouldn't be resolved by just words. Go back and wait for our news, the head of the council said. The meeting was over, and the council members got up after one another, leaving the hall. Wang Ting had no choice. He had done what he could. Now, this matter would depend on how the assessment would be arranged and what would happen to Cao Hongtu. I didn't expect Cao Hongtu to do so many things over the years. Looks like he really worked hard, Round Ball commented. I'm afraid that man would be much more difficult to deal with than his useless son, Wang Teng replied. Back then, I knew he was a scheming man, but Master Nangong didn't believe me. Round Ball complained in anger. There's no use talking about it now, Wang Teng said helplessly. Let's go back and wait for the result. Okay. But don't worry, I accompanied Master Nangong when he took the assessment. It shouldn't be a difficult thing for you. Round Ball assured him. They had already walked out of the noble family consultation chamber. However, when Wang Ting passed the stone tablet by the entrance, he realized that Cao Guan was waiting for him outside. I can give you money. Leave the city and the empire. Low-class martial warriors like you just want resources. My family can afford it. Cao Guan stopped Wang Ting. He sounded like he was doing charity. Wang Ting turned and looked at him. He then laughed out loud, replying with contempt, No, you can't afford it. His eyes and smile triggered Cao Guan. If you could afford it, you wouldn't be eyeing the Baron's title. Wang Ting added fuel to fire. There are some things that you can't touch. Do you think the consultation chamber is a reasonable place? If you think you can inherit the Baron's title by going through the noble families, you are too naive. Even if you became a Baron, it wouldn't take long for someone to kill a planetary stage warrior like you. Cao Guan gritted his teeth and said fiercely, Are you threatening me? Wang Ting narrowed his eyes slightly and stared at Cao Guan. Threat? No, it's a piece of advice. Cao Guan thought Wang Ting was afraid and smiled proudly. He then extended his arm to pat his shoulder. However, Wang Ting avoided him and suddenly exclaimed, What? You're thinking of getting your father Cao Hongtu to kill me and the Parker's family to flout the laws of the empire to secretly offer a reward for my head. How can the Cao family be so vicious? Your father and I are Baron Nangong's inheritors. I didn't expect your father to be such a ruthless man. K. Cao Guan's face turned pale, and he burst out in anger, I didn't. You're spouting nonsense. You're slandering me. You did. You did. Can you swear it on your family's lives that you didn't threaten me? Wang Teng was pushing him to the edge. Cao Guan's face turned dark. He did threaten Wang Ting, but not to that extent. He didn't say that he would get his father to kill Wang Ting. He also didn't say that he was getting the Parker's family to offer a reward for Wang Ting's head. No matter how daring he would never speak of the Parker's family. It was all fabrication. False accusations. There were still many council members who hadn't left. Hearing their voices, they looked over and shook their heads. Cao Hongtu's dumb son was obviously not Wang Ting's match. Assassinations were supposed to be done secretly and silently. He was threatening him in front of the noble family consultation chamber. What an idiot. Now that Wang Ting brought that up, even if the Parkers wanted to do something, they would have to weigh the consequences. Otherwise, when he was assassinated, they would have to take the blame, whether or not it was done by them. If Sinclairman knew about Cao Guan's idiotic behavior, he would probably want to kill him on the spot. Wang Ting ignored Cao Guan and called for a rune energy flying car. He then flew away into the sky, leaving Cao Guan behind. Bastard. Cao Guan gritted his teeth. Back to Fan Tining's home. Master Wang Ting, you're back. Fan Tining immediately welcomed him. He already knew that Wang Teng had visited the noble family consultation chamber. Things like that could not be kept secret. The news would spread quickly. Are you all right? He asked worriedly. He knew that Baron Nangong's matter was fishy, and there were probably many families involved. Otherwise, Cao Hongtu would not be able to take the title of the Baron. After all, Baron Nangong didn't leave a will behind. Given that, he shouldn't be able to inherit the title. It's nothing much. Everything went quite well. Wang Teng responded casually as if nothing dangerous had happened in the meeting. Fan Tining was surprised. Inheriting titles had never gone smooth. However, Wang Ting was so relaxed. Did he have a trump card up his sleeves? Master Wang Ting, are you really Baron Nangong's inheritor? He brought Wang Ting into the house and couldn't help asking. Indeed, the news will spread soon. Wang Ting nodded. Then you will have to be careful of Cao Hongtu and his family. I heard that he is a vengeful person. Fan Taining looked around and whispered. Chapter 957, The Cow Family's Reply. Wang Ting was surprised by Master Fan Taining's reminder. He still offered him advice even after knowing that his enemies were Cow Hongtu and the Parker's family. He didn't chase him out of his house either. This showed that Fan Taining sincerely treated him as a friend. Of course, this also meant that the Grandmaster-level Rune Master standing behind him had a powerful background. It looks like Grandmaster-level Rune Masters are more popular than I thought. Wang Ting touched his chin and wondered to himself. He was eager to head to the Secondary Career Alliance to prove his Grandmaster-level mastery. Mind you, he was at the Grandmaster level for Rune Mastery and Smithery. Given enough time, his connections would definitely grow. His alchemy mastery was almost at the Grandmaster level too. He could pick up some alchemist attribute bubbles in the Secondary Career Alliance a few days later, and he would jump to the Grandmaster level. How amazing would it be? Master Wang Ting, stay at my place without any worry. I have registered my residence with the Secondary Career Alliance and have gained the protection of the Alliance. Ordinary martial warriors won't dare to create trouble here, Fan Taining said. Thank you. I won't have to worry about insensible people coming over to create trouble for me. Wang Ting laughed. Ha ha ha, after you finish your registration at the Secondary Career Alliance tomorrow, with your potential, the Alliance will definitely be happy to give you protection. Master Fan Taining laughed happily. Wang Ting smiled. He wondered if Master Fan Taining would drop his jaws when he realized that he was a Grandmaster-level Rune Master. He should let others reveal this truth. He was too embarrassed to say it himself. Wang Ting had a conversation with Fan Taining about runes. Then, he retired to his room. He sat cross-legged on his bed and focused on his attributes panel. Ocean Whale Flame *100. Wang Ting smiled unconsciously when he saw the new flame on his attributes panel. So what if you're a Heaven Stage martial warrior? So what if you're from the Parker's family? I can still collect your attribute bubbles. When he went to the chamber, there was a moment when Sinclaman wanted to kill him, but the attack got stopped by the head of the council. Sinclaman dropped an attribute bubble at that time, and Wang Ting picked it up silently. When this attribute bubble merged into his body, he noticed a blue flame appearing in his consciousness. It looked the same as Sinclaman's flame. However, it was just a tiny flame that was smaller than an egg. The tiny blue flame hid in a corner and flickered in fear as it faced the holy flame, the dark flame, and the emerald glazed flame. After receiving the ocean whale flame, Wang Ting immediately knew its background. This was a beast fire. It came from the deep-sea blue whale living deep in the ocean. Only a small number of pure-blooded deep-sea blue whale could breed the ocean whale flame. The ocean whale flame could not be compared to a divine fire like the emerald-glazed flame. However, it was a powerful flame among the star beasts. It was able to burn brightly even in the ocean. The Parker's family could release a lot of its power with the help of their fire physique. Wang Ting was extremely interested in the fire physique of the Parker's family. He had many flames. If he had the fire physique, he would become more powerful. In the evening, after having dinner, Fan Taining held him back to discuss runes again. Fan Taining was astounded by Wang Ting's understanding and gained many insights. Then, Wang Ting returned to his room and entered the virtual reality to cultivate. In the Nangong family encampment, Cao Guan finally managed to contact his father, Cao Hongtu. They were conversing in the virtual universe. Besides Cao Guan and Cao Hongtu, there were many other people. They were all Cao Hongtu's sons, daughters, grandsons, granddaughters, great-grandsons, etc. During these million years, Cao Hongtu created a huge family, grooming many descendants. If Nangong family had done the same thing, they wouldn't be in this state. They wouldn't need an outsider to inherit their noble title. Cao Hongtu was a stern-looking middle-aged man with slightly curled brown hair. His eyes were like an upside-down triangle. They made him look sinister. Someone brought Nangong Yu's Baron's seal to the noble family consultation chamber and even attained his legacy. Cao Hongtu called Nangong Yu by his name without any hint of respect in his tone. He stared at Cao Guan coldly. Why didn't you inform me immediately? Cold sweat dripped down Cao Guan's forehead continuously. He was extremely fearful of Cao Hongtu. The other party is just a planetary stage martial warrior, and there are other families speaking up for me in the council. I thought that this young man with no background won't be able to do anything, so I didn't inform you. A planetary stage martial warrior with no background. Cao Hongtu's gaze turned sharper. Since he managed to get acknowledged as the inheritor, it means that you're worse than him, right? Plonk. Cao Guan kneeled down in fright. Father, please give me another chance. I'll not let him get the Baron's title. Give you another chance. Cao Hongtu's face turned black. Do you know what will happen if you fail again? If you fail again, our family will never be able to take over the Baron's title, and Father's effort all these years will go to waste. A mesmerizing voice was heard. All the other descendants of Cao Hongtu didn't dare to speak, but this lady remained unaffected by his anger. There was even a small smile at the edge of her lips as she looked at Cao Guan with disdain. This lady seemed to be around 28. She was sexy, and her hair was tied up. She exuded the aura of a mature lady. From her looks and aura, one could give her 90 points. Her voluptuous figure could add another 5 points. It was hard to imagine that this lady belonged to the Cao family. After all, Cao Hongtu wasn't exactly handsome. Cao Jiao. Cao Guan raised his head abruptly. He was furious. Don't look at me like that. I'm your dear little sister. Cao Jiao patted her voluptuous chest delicately. The other members of the Cao family, if they didn't know her character, they would have almost believed her performance. Jiao is right. If you fail again, all my efforts will go down the drain. You won't be able to bear the consequences. Cao Hongtu's expression turned gentler when he saw Cao Jiao. Turning to Cao Guan, his gaze turned sharp and cold again. Go back and stay in your room to reflect. I'll ask your younger brother to take over your businesses. Also, I'll head back to the Great Qian planet too. I must attend to this matter personally. Cao Guan was dejected. He was unwilling to give up, but he didn't dare to disobey Cao Hongtu. Father, I'll not disappoint you. Cao Ling, Cao Guan's younger brother and the fourth child of Cao Hongtu, promised hurriedly. After you go back, investigate the other party's ability and background. I want to know if there's anyone supporting him. I don't believe that a planetary stage martial warrior dares to go against me, Cao Hongtu ordered. I understand. Cao Ling nodded. He paused and asked, what about the Parker's family? You don't have to care about them. I will contact Sir Sinclairman personally. Cao Hongtu frowned and replied. I'm sure Sir Sinclairman will give you some face if you go personally. Cao Ling tried to curry favor with his father. It's hard to say. I heard that the young brat angered Sinclairman during the meeting. He must be fuming since he got provoked by a planetary stage martial warrior. If I don't offer some gifts, I might not be able to appease his anger, Cao Hongtu said helplessly. There was a flash of exasperation in his eyes. The Parker's family is one of the 8 dukes after all, Cao Jiao smiled and said. Jiao, you should come back soon. I need your help this time. Cao Hongtu turned to another person and said, you should come back too. Cao Jiao was one of the only 2 Cosmos stage martial warriors among his descendants. This was why Cao Guan didn't dare to refute her. The other one was his second son, Cao Wu. He was a muscular and stern-looking man. A million years could change many things. 2 of Cao Hongtu's descendants had managed to reach the Cosmos stage. Round Ball wished that Cao Hongtu was still at the Cosmos stage. It must be daydreaming. Compared to his younger siblings, Cao Guan only managed to reach the 6th-level celestial stage even after all these years of resources. This was partly because of Cao Hongtu's lack of education in the past and his low talent in martial arts. All right. Since it's father's request, I'll definitely come back. Cao Jiao nodded obediently. Okay. Cao's reply was short. Cao Jiao and Cao Wu had reached the Cosmos stage, so they were stationed on battlefields all year round. They were there to accumulate military exploits for the Cao family and also to improve their ability. They rarely stayed in the Great Qian planet. Cao Hongtu was satisfied with their attitude. They were his proudest son and daughter. Naturally, he felt that they were the best. "I'll make some preparations first. I can't leave the number 6 defense planet as and when I want to. I need to complete some handover procedures," Cao Jiaojiao said. "Yes, go ahead." Cao Hongtu nodded. He said to everyone else, "You all can leave." The meeting of the Cao family ended at that. Everyone started moving regardless of where they were. They were all heading back to the Great Chen planet. Wang Teng didn't know that the Cao family was targeting him. However, he did ask Round Ball to investigate Cao Hongtu. "Know thy enemy and know yourself. In 100 battles, you will never be defeated." Cao Hongtu was at the heaven stage, so if he didn't prepare well, he would be at a disadvantage when he met him. After all, Round Ball wasn't reliable. He had suffered many times because of it, so he should rely on himself. Chapter 958. How are they? The next morning, Wang Ting woke up from his cultivation. One night in the real world meant one day in the virtual universe. He could accomplish many things in one day. He could collect numerous attribute bubbles. His ability rose, and all of his forces increased. He was getting closer to breaking through to the celestial stage. He walked out of the door and met Master Fan Taining. He had dark eye circles and was yawning continuously. "Master Wang Ting, you're awake," Fan Taining greeted him after a pause. "Master Fan, what happened to you?" Wang Ting was shocked. At their level, staying up one night wasn't a problem. Fan Taining must have exhausted much of his energy to end up in this state. "I'm fine. I studied the entire night after receiving your guidance and managed to achieve a breakthrough in my rune mastery. I didn't waste your effort," Master Fan Taining said happily. "My effort?" Wang Teng was stunned. "What did I do? Why didn't I know?" He was a little irritated by Fan Taining's pestering yesterday, so he answered a few of his questions subconsciously and threw him a few more questions for him to think. Did he achieve a breakthrough because of that? "Master Wang Teng, thank you so much. I have been stuck at this bottleneck for a long time. I'm lucky to have received your help." Fan Taining suddenly grabbed Wang Ting's hand. This old fellow seemed a little excited as he thanked him continuously. Wang Ting felt goosebumps on his skin. He pulled the corners of his lips and hurriedly pulled his hand back. Laughing awkwardly, he said, "Haha, Master Fan, you're too polite. This is the result of the knowledge you have accumulated over the years. I didn't do much." "No way. Master Wang Ting, your help was crucial." Fan Taining thought that Wang Ting was just being humble. "Oh right, after your breakthrough, you must be getting close to the Grandmaster level, right?" Wang Ting quickly changed the topic. "If everything goes smoothly, I'll be able to advance to the Grandmaster level within 3 years. If I'm able to have more conversations with you, it might be faster." Fan Taining was glowing when he spoke about the advancement. Again, Wang Ting felt his heart sinking. Master Fan Taining was honestly irritating. He had never met such an irritating old man. "Haha, sure." Wang Ting agreed with him, but in his heart, he reminded himself to stay away from Fan Taining in the future. He mustn't get caught by him. They were friends, but he wasn't a beauty. He wouldn't give him any chance to find him. "Thank you," Fan Taining thanked Wang Ting fervently. His eyes were glowing. "When are we heading to the Secondary Career Alliance?" Wang Ting felt the corners of his eyes twitching. He changed the topic again. "Well, have breakfast first and head over immediately afterward." Fan Taining chuckled when he saw how impatient Wang Teng was. Thus, after breakfast, the two of them took a rune energy flying car to the Secondary Career Alliance. The Secondary Career Alliance was situated in the most prosperous business district of Great Chen City, the Kunwu district. This street was named after the empire's divine beast. It was said that the first emperor of the Great Chen Empire named this street personally when it was still in the designing phase. It had an extraordinary significance. If one looked at it from a bird's eye view, one would notice that this district was linked to many other locations. Large streams of people strolled through the streets. The main street in this district was directly linked to the outskirts of the Great Chen Palace. However, the Great Chen Palace was separated from the street by a large plaza. No buildings were allowed to be constructed there. As a high-tier civilization, many powerful factions chose to have a building in this city, for instance, the Universe Bank, the Virtual Universe Office, the Thousand Treasure Chamber, and many others. They were all scattered along the sides of the street. As one of the giants in the universe, the Secondary Career Alliance had a building in this district too. Wang Teng and Master Fan Taining alighted when they reached the Kunwu district. They strolled along the lively street and turned into a side road. After walking for about 100 meters, they stopped in front of a towering building. How would one describe this building? Wang Teng sized it up carefully. At this moment, he couldn't find any words to explain the sight. In summary, this building was a compilation of all kinds of professional styles, which were portrayed in an extremely artistic manner. However, it didn't seem out of the place. Instead, it looked unique and refreshing. He would probably remember this place even after he left the Empire. What do you think? The style of our Secondary Career Alliance building is nice, right? Master Fan Taining asked proudly. Indeed, it's not bad. Wang Teng nodded. Of course. We invited many Grandmaster-level architects to its construction. It took them many years and the building would be upgraded from time to time. Fan Taining laughed as he led the way. Come, let's go in. Wang Teng glanced at the exterior of the Secondary Career Alliance and exclaimed in his heart. In the universe, the ancient factions had to use eras to count the time of their existence. Their foundations were extremely strong. They even put so much effort into the exterior of a building. It was amazing. This thought flashed through his mind before he followed Fan Taining hurriedly. They entered the Secondary Career Alliance. There were already many people in the building. People walked to and fro, making the scene lively. Wang Ting scanned the room and saw countless blacksmiths, alchemists, rune masters, etc. They were from various races. Some of them had beast heads. They were definitely from the orc race, a common sight in the universe. It wasn't hard to distinguish their identity. They were wearing the exclusive attire of the Alliance, an elegant and luxurious purple gown with different symbols pasted on their chests. Alchemists would have a furnace symbol, blacksmiths would have a hammer symbol, rune masters would have a rune symbol, so on and so forth. It was simple and direct. This reminded Wang Teng of the rune master and alchemist assessment he took on the Xingwu continent. Their system was similar. But compared to them, the universe's system was more complete and unified. I wonder how they are. Wang Teng suddenly remembered Master Gorlin, Li Rongxue, and his other friends. The danger on Earth was extremely pressing, so he had to leave his home and come to the universe to find a path to survival. He didn't have the time to visit the Xingwu continent. After settling his identity problem, he could avert Earth's crisis and should be able to find some time to head to the Xingwu continent to solve the dark apparitions issue there. It was still uncertain whether Earth and the Xingwu continent could integrate further. He didn't know either. If they could, it would be a good solution for both parties. Integrating with the Xingwu continent would be a good option for Earth if the people there wanted to enter the universe. Chapter 959. How could he fail when he was a bug? Oh, Master Fan Taining, you came to the Alliance today? Just when Wang Teng was in deep thought, a foreign voice sounded beside him. Oh, it's Master Hobson. Fan Taining turned his head and laughed when he saw a tall, strong man walking over. Wang Teng was a little surprised. The man's muscles seemed to be made of rocks, and he was 5 meters tall. It was fortunate that the Alliance took into account the stature of every race when designing the building, such that the roof and doors were high and wide enough. Otherwise, the building wouldn't be able to accommodate a hunk like him. With each step he took, it felt like the ground was shaking. It was so overwhelming that everyone around couldn't help but give way. Looking at him reminded Wang Teng of the Zhongyan clan that he met in Darkland. Wang Teng had a deep impression of them. After all, they fed him so many attributes. The Zhongyan clan could control rocks to cover their bodies, and they possessed strong physiques and strength. Wang Teng later merged the heart of Zhongyan talent into the more advanced heart of magnetic essence. Now, he could not only condense rocks but metal and sand as well. He was wondering if this man was related to the Zhongyan clan. But there were still some differences between this man and the Zhongyan clan. Although he looked tall and strong, his eyes were yellowish-brown in color and his head was round. He looked simple and honest. However, the burly mixed blood from the Zhongyan clan looked fiercer and his eyes had a trace of blood red. He wondered if it was because of the dark apparition's bloodline. "Come, Master Wang Ting, let me introduce you to Master Hobson from the Zhongyan clan." Fan Taining introduced them to each other. "Master Hobson, this is Runemaster Wang Ting." Wang Ting was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that this man was really from the Zhongyan clan. Wasn't their clan erased by the dark apparitions? That's not it. The universe is vast. Even if Earth was destroyed, there will still be humans who would have survived. Such a young runemaster? Hobson was surprised as he sized up Wang Ting. Wang Ting nodded. "I brought Master Wang Ting over to register for the assessment. He will also join our secondary career alliance," Fan Taining explained. "Master Fan, you found such a young master. Looks like you will be receiving a lot of rewards," Master Hobson said with envy. "Ha ha ha, of course. But I've already agreed with Dr. Leonardo to recommend Master Wang Ting," Fan Taining said. "Dr. Leonardo?" Master Hobson was surprised. "Is Master Wang Ting also a doctor with superb medical skills?" "You will find out later," Fan Taining said mysteriously. "You're making me curious." Hobson shook his head helplessly and asked, "Master Wang Ting, can I tag along and observe a thing or two? It just so happens that I have nothing to do today." "Sure, no problem." Wang Tung's eyes flashed. He agreed as this master blacksmith might come in handy during his blacksmith assessment later. The group then headed into the interior of the Alliance following Fan Taining's lead, going directly to a room. Dr. Leonardo was already waiting there for a long time. "Master Wang Ting, Master Fan Taining, you're finally here. I almost thought that you have forgotten about this. How could we forget such an important thing?" Fan Taining laughed. "Master Hobson, you are here too?" Dr. Leonardo asked in surprise as he turned towards him. "Haha, I ran into Master Fan Taining and Master Wang Ting and decided to come and take a look." Hobson rubbed his head with his rough hands. "Let's go in. I have already greeted the staff." Dr. Leonardo nodded and urged. The group entered the room. The staff were very polite and completed the registration process quickly. It was great to have connections. With Master Fan Taining and Dr. Leonardo, there was nothing for Wang Ting to fret about. They took the registration form and headed directly for the assessment area. The interior of the Secondary Career Alliance was huge and was divided into various areas according to the different professions. They decided to go for the doctor assessment first. The doctor assessment is mainly about treatment and medical knowledge. It doesn't matter if you don't have medical knowledge. As long as you show your light force treatment, you can be part of the Secondary Career Alliance and you would have a smooth career. Those who are skilled in light force treatment have great advantages, Dr. Leonardo said. Wang Ting nodded to show that he understood. Medical knowledge wasn't that difficult for him. It was just a matter of picking up attributes. Wang Ting used to pick up a lot of medical knowledge attributes on Earth, but it would definitely not be comparable to the medical knowledge in the universe. He was planning to see if he could pick up a few medical knowledge attributes and boost his medical knowledge level. Otherwise, he might look a bit amateur with just his light force treatment. After a while, everyone came to the assessment room. Dr. Leonardo brought Wang Ting in, while Fan Taining and Hobson waited outside. The assessment room was actually an infirmary. There were many figures in white gowns inside who were waiting for their assessment to start. At the same time, there were 3 examiners who were seated and communicating with each other. They were surprised when they saw Leonardo walking in with Wang Ting. "Dr. Leonardo, Dr. Zheng Xiu, Dr. Celia, Dr. Guo Suyang, so you are the examiners today." Dr. Leonardo greeted the 3 of them and passed them the registration form. "I brought Master Wang Ting here to take part in the assessment." Master Wang Ting, the 3 examiners were even more surprised. Looking at the registration form, this young man was not even 20 years old, yet he had already reached the master level. It was unbelievable. Wang Ting also scanned the 3 examiners. Among them, Zheng Xiu and Guo Suyang were humans, while Celia was a female fairy with a delicate and beautiful appearance. There were no ugly fairies, and she was naturally not excluded. The assessment is about to begin. I shall not disturb all of you. Leonardo looked at the time and said, Master Wang Ting, I'll wait for you outside. Just come out after your assessment is over. All right. Leonardo then walked out of the assessment room. Mr. Wang Ting, please take a seat. We'll begin the assessment soon. Even if they were unsure whether he was a master, the 3 examiners were still polite to the man who was brought here by Leonardo. Wang Ting found a vacant seat and sat down. After some time, Celia, the female doctor, stood up and spoke slowly. Today's doctor assessment will be split into 2 parts, a written test and practical treatment. The written test mainly assesses all kinds of medical knowledge, while the treatment tests your actual skills. No matter what method you use, as long as you can heal the patient, you will be able to pass the assessment. Both assessments will take up half an hour each. And the assessment begins. As soon as she finished, a screen appeared in front of every examinee, displaying a series of medical knowledge questions. Wang Ting was a little helpless. He didn't know that he would have to take a written test. He glanced at the questions and didn't rush to attempt them. He didn't know the answer to most of the questions. The others had already started and were also starting to drop attribute bubbles. Medical knowledge * 100 medical knowledge * 160 medical knowledge * 120 The attribute bubbles were being collected by Wang Ting, and they merged into his mind. Suddenly, the questions didn't seem foreign anymore. It was like he was enlightened. However, Wang Ting still didn't start. He found that there were some answers that he didn't know. There was no choice but to continue picking up attribute bubbles. Wang Ting's medical knowledge started increasing and advanced from the small achievement stage to the big achievement stage, heading to the perfected stage. Why hasn't Wang Ting started yet? The 3 examiners were secretly observing Wang Ting and frowned when he didn't move. Leonardo wouldn't fool us like this. Celia shook her head and smiled bitterly. Let's wait a while more. Oh, He's answering the questions. Guo Suyang was taken aback. He's so fast. Zheng Xiu and Celia looked over and were surprised. Not only did Wang Ting start answering the questions, but he was extremely fast as well. He barely paused and filled in the answers as soon as his eyes swept past the questions. After 10 minutes, Wang Ting had finished all the questions and submitted his answers. At this time, the others were still struggling with their questions. Some were frowning in deep thought while others were scratching their heads. Wang Ting laughed secretly. I know the answers to the questions that you know and even the ones that you don't. This was the benefit of collecting attributes. You could combine everyone's intellect into one. How could he fail as a bug? The 3 examiners received Wang Ting's test and started grading it. Their eyes then widened in surprise. Perfect score. There were no errors. This Wang Ting was really unbelievable. They looked at each other and had the same thought. Looks like Dr. Leonardo wasn't fooling around with them. It was highly likely that Wang Ting was a master. Half an hour soon passed, and the written test was over. The other examinees had to turn in their answers and begin the practical assessment. There was a door in the assessment room, and a group of white coats brought patients and the injured over and randomly assigned them to each examinee. In front of Wang Ting was a seriously wounded man. It was clear that he had just come from the battlefield. People like him were common on the Great Chen planet. They were all transported back here as they couldn't be healed on the battlefield planets. With the attitude of a doctor that was responsible for his patients, Wang Ting used Eyes of Essence to understand his condition. After making sure that there were no other problems, he then used his light force treatment. Bestow of the goddess. Light rain suddenly appeared in the room, and everyone was attracted by the scene. Light force treatment. The 3 examiners were shocked again and stared at Wang Ting like he was a ghost. They were unwilling to look anywhere else. Chapter 960. I want to take part in the Grandmaster level assessment. The light force treatment became the highlight of the assessment the moment it appeared. The other candidates looked over with envy and jealousy. That was a light force treatment skill. They also wanted to possess it. To a doctor, a light force treatment skill was a divine and holy skill. However, this skill had a high talent requirement, and they didn't have it. The three examiners walked over from their seats uncontrollably and came to observe Wang Teng. Dr. Celia even stretched out her hand to feel a few drops of the light rain. She wanted to understand its healing effects. It wouldn't affect Wang Teng's treatment. Dr. Celia, does your greenwood treatment have the same effect? Dr. Guo Suyang whispered. I would rejoice if it has half the effect, Dr. Celia said with a bitter smile. Is the difference that huge? Zheng Xiu exclaimed in surprise. Yes. Dr. Celia didn't want to admit it, but she still nodded. I'm afraid that only our fairy's life treatment can surpass this light force treatment. No way. Zheng Xiu and Guo Suyang were astounded. The life treatment of the fairy race was a miracle treatment that was said to be able to bring the dead back to life. Was this light force treatment really comparable to it? Very soon, Wang Teng stopped his light force treatment. The injuries of the patient were well under control. This treatment possessed no difficulties at all. No dark force remained in the patient's body. It was easier to treat than the critically injured martial warriors on number 4 defense planet. He had done whatever he could. The patient would have to rely on himself to recover gradually. Master Wang Ting, I didn't think that you had grasped the light force treatment. Celia's exclamation was heard at the side. She started addressing him as Master Wang Ting, showing that she had acknowledged his ability. Reading on Maibo XNOVL. Com please. I was lucky. Wang Teng didn't reveal any arrogance as he replied humbly. Master Wang Teng, your assessment has ended. Well, record your situation and report it to the Alliance. You shouldn't have any problem getting the master level certification, Dr. Guo Suyang said. After witnessing his light force treatment, the three examiners became polite. They didn't mind giving him some convenience and leaving a good impression. All right, I'll leave first. I have other assessments to attend. Wang Teng nodded and smiled. Then, he left the assessment room. Did he say that he's going for other assessments? Zheng Xiu asked as he looked at Wang Teng's back. Is he skilled in other areas too? Guo Suyang was dumbstruck. Well, no, after asking Dr. Leonardo. Dr. Celia shook her head. He found a great talent this time. Zheng Xiu and Guo Suyang nodded uncontrollably. They were full of envy. Besides getting connections through such recommendations, one could also get rewarded by the Alliance. Hence, they were extremely enthusiastic in recommending potential candidates. The instant Wang Ting walked out of the assessment room, Fan Taining and Leonardo came forward. How is it? Master Wang Ting, how was your assessment? Not bad. Wang Teng replied calmly. That's good, that's good. Leonardo felt at ease. Quick, let's go for the Rune Master assessment. Fan Taining was getting impatient. He hurried Wang Teng to the assessment venue. Wang Teng followed behind him helplessly. Master Hobson was shocked. Did Master Wang Teng pass the doctor assessment? Since he says it's not bad, it shouldn't be a problem. After all, he has the light force treatment skill. Leonardo replied. Light force treatment. Hobson widened his eyes in surprise. He didn't know that Wang Ting had this rare skill. He suddenly felt fortunate that he had followed them. If not, he would have missed the chance to befriend Wang Teng. No, he must hug Wang Teng's thigh tightly. Master Wang Teng, I heard that there will be a Grandmaster level Rune Master in this Rune Master assessment, Fan Taining said as he led the way. A Grandmaster? Wang Teng was slightly stunned. Yes, has Grandmaster gone what? Has quite famous in the Alliance, Fan Taining said. Wang Ting looked at him strangely. He was going to take the Grandmaster level assessment. Should he tell him? After thinking for a while, he decided to say it. As for that assessment, you don't have to worry. With your ability, you will easily pass the test. Fan Taining thought Wang Ting was worried that the examiner would be stricter since he was a Grandmaster, so he consoled him. Wang Ting felt speechless. He wanted to speak, but Fan Taining continued, Grandmaster Gonwat has a good relationship with my master. If he knows that I recommended you, he will definitely take care of you. Yes, what you say is right. Wang Ting was helpless. He decided to keep quiet. Soon, they arrived at the Runemaster assessment venue. There were another bunch of people walking in this direction from the other end of the corridor. The two groups met in the middle. Master Fan Tining, what a coincidence. Did you bring someone for the assessment? A tall and skinny elder chuckled. Pitman, why are you here? Master Fan Tining frowned uncontrollably when he saw the person. I brought someone for the assessment too. Pitman pointed at a man who seemed around 30 years old. This is Runemaster Jiang Wunxing. He hails from a distant planet and has just turned 32 this year. However, has already eligible to participate in the master level assessment. His referrer. There was a hint of arrogance on Jiang Wengxing's face. He nodded at Fan Tining. Aren't you going to introduce the person you brought? Pitman sized up the people behind Fan Tining, recognizing Leonardo and Hobson. They were not here for the assessment. His gaze then landed on Wang Ting. This is Master Wang Ting. He hasn't turned 20 yet. His referrer, Fan Tining introduced Wang Ting with a strange expression. Hasn't turned 20 and has already a rune master? Pitman's expression froze. He thought that he was lucky enough to find a 32-year-old rune master. Yet, Fan Tining found one that hadn't reached 20. Anyone could tell that Fan Tining's candidate had greater potential. To think that he came over to compare his candidate with Fan Tining's. He was slapping his own face. This didn't feel good. Jiang Wengxing's expression changed a little too. He sized up Wang Ting and seemed unconvinced. Wang Ting frowned. He didn't want to waste his time on them. He didn't mind people who wanted to feel superior to others. But if they came to find him. Master Fan, I didn't have the chance to tell you just now. I came to participate in the Grandmaster level assessment, Wang Teng replied calmly. I know, it's the master level. Wait. Fan Tining froze. Grandmaster level assessment. Pitman and Jiang Wunxing were thunderstruck. 1. Chapter 961. The past makes one emotional. Grandmaster level. Are you kidding me? Pitman shouted after a moment of silence. He could accept a master-level runemaster who hadn't turned 20 yet. After all, he had seen many talents. However, such a young grandmaster was impossible. Pitman didn't believe him. Jiang Wunxing didn't believe him either. He quickly regained his composure and smiled. If you said this to stimulate me, you win. I can't be compared to someone who has reached the grandmaster level before hitting his 20s. Although he was admitting defeat, the disdain and contempt in his tone were apparent. Wang Teng frowned. He wanted to disregard Jiang Wunxing at first, but the contemptuous tone irked him. He replied calmly, Do you think you can fight with me if I participate in the master level assessment? Jiang Wengxing's expression froze. His words made sense. A 20-year-old master was definitely better than a 32-year-old master. The difference in talent and potential between them was vast. Mr. Wang Teng, runes are a broad and profound field. Even grandmaster-level runemasters maintain a humble attitude. I don't think you should be so arrogant, Pitman said. Wang Teng glanced at him and said, When you came over to find your sense of superiority, were you thinking of remaining humble? You. Pitman's face turned black. Also, I'm not looking down on anyone. You were the one who came to compare with me. You stretched your feet out and waited for me to step on it. Is it my fault? Wang Teng asked calmly. He had never lost when it comes to refuting. Reading on Maibo XNOVL. Com please. Fart. Jiang Wunxing felt a stab in his heart. Pitman was speechless too. He was right. They were the ones who came to speak to them first. He couldn't find any reason to refute Wang Teng now. Ha ha ha, Master Pitman, why don't you bring your Master Jiang Wunxing to the assessment area first? If you're late, you'll have to wait for the next one. Fan Tining laughed when he saw Pitman choking on his own words. Pitman knew that he was in the wrong, So he snorted and entered the assessment room with Jiang Wanxing. Master Wang Ting, thank you. Although I have some grudges with Pitman, I didn't want to pull you in. Sorry to implicate you. However, he found the wrong person to tease this time, Fan Taining said to Wang Ting gratefully. Nothing, it's just a small matter, Wang Ting said. Let's go to the venue, Fan Taining said hurriedly. He thought that what Wang Ting said about taking the Grandmaster level assessment was just to help him. I'm not lying. I really want to participate in the Grandmaster level exam. Wang Ting was speechless. What? You're serious? Fan Taining widened his eyes in shock as he exclaimed. He knew that Wang Ting's rune mastery was high. That was why he was able to enlighten him just by answering a few of his questions. However, when he thought about how extraordinary Grandmasters were, he started to feel a little uncertain. The Grandmaster level assessment was extremely difficult. Many Master-level rune masters got stuck here and couldn't break through. There was a chasm between a Master and a Grandmaster. This wasn't a gap that could be overcome purely through time and effort. It required talent too. This was the reason why more than 80% of Master-level rune masters failed to reach that stage. I can't take it. Wang Ting asked. You can. Fan Taining was a little hesitant. However, it's a little more troublesome as compared to the Master level assessment. We need to inform 3 or more Grandmaster level rune masters for this assessment. Dr. Leonardo and Master Blacksmith Hobson also came over. They didn't interfere just now, but they were equally astounded. Master Wang Ting, how confident are you? Leonardo asked. At least 70%. Wang Ting was acting humble. If he said 100%, they probably wouldn't believe him. He would have to explain to them again. That's really high. Fan Taining's expression changed. He was elated. If Wang Ting was honestly so confident, as his recommender, he would gain great benefits too. This was a Grandmaster rune master who hadn't reached 20. What did this mean? Even his master might come to snatch the position of the recommender if he learned about this. He said hurriedly, Master Wang Ting, if you're certain you want to participate in this assessment, you'll have to make an application immediately. However, you need to wait. I'm not sure if there are 3 or more Grandmasters available today. Is it this troublesome? Wang Ting was surprised. It can't be helped. After all, this is a Grandmaster level assessment. Fan Taining said with a bitter smile. In that case, Wang Ting paused for a second. He was in a dilemma. Should he tell them that he wanted to take the Grandmaster level assessment for smithery and alchemy too? After all, 3 Grandmaster level assessments were a little exaggerated. What if they got frightened? But he recalled his current situation. If he didn't display his ability now, his enemies would come and look for him soon. He cemented his resolve and said, in that case, help me to apply for the Grandmaster level smithery and alchemy assessments too. 3 in a row. Master Fan Taining, Dr. Leonardo, Master Blacksmith Hobson. This time, they weren't just stunned. They lost their thoughts for a split second. It was as if their minds were switched off. Are you guys all right? Wang Ting asked worriedly. He didn't think that they would be so surprised. Come on, y'all are not young anymore. Why is your mind so weak? Cough. Master Wang Ting, you scared me, Fan Taining said with a forced smile. I think it's all right. I heard that there are many talents in the universe. Isn't it common to find someone with 3 Grandmaster titles? Wang Ting asked. 3 Grandmaster titles are common? Fan Taining almost vomited blood. He started cursing in his mind. Your head. Do you think Grandmaster titles can be bought in the market like cabbages? 1 Grandmaster title is rare enough, much less 3. You must have some misunderstanding about the Grandmaster level. Really? Wang Ting tried his best to suppress his smile when he saw their expressions, saying innocently, I thought that 3 Grandmaster titles can be found everywhere. To think that I worked so hard to raise my ability. I stayed up many nights and days cultivating just to reach this stage. The past is making me emotional. Won the 3 masters. Wang Ting's achievement was the result of his hard work. Indeed, They were not working hard enough. Even a rare talent like Wang Ting was toiling so hard. What reasons did normal people like them have to slack? The three masters started to look at Wang Ting in a different light. Chapter 962, Unfilial Disciple, You're creating trouble for me. People who worked hard were worth respecting. Wang Teng's image rose in their hearts. Master Wang Teng, I'll apply for the Grandmaster level Runemaster assessment now. Fan Taining regained his calm. I'll apply for the Smithery assessment for you, Master Blacksmith Hobson said. Yes, you can. However, we agreed that if we get the reward, we'll split half with Master Wang Teng, Fan Taining said. Wang Teng glanced at Master Fan Taining in surprise. Of course, he was happy to have someone watching his back. No problem. My main aim is to befriend a rare talent like Master Wang Teng. The reward is a bonus, Master Hobson said righteously. Wang Ting looked at him strangely. He couldn't tell that this humble-looking Master Hobson was quite good at talking. Master Fan Taining and Dr. Leonardo looked at Master Hobson as if it was their first time knowing him. They were astonished too. Cough. What about the alchemy assessment? Master Hobson coughed awkwardly. I'll look for my master and ask him to help find an alchemist as your recommender, Fan Taining said after contemplating. He looked at Wang Teng and asked, Master Wang Teng, what do you think? I'm fine with it, Wang Teng replied. Of course, he was fine with it. There was someone running errands for him. Master Fan Taining and the others immediately went to apply for the Grandmaster level assessment. These were 3 Grandmaster level titles. Just thinking about it made their hearts shudder. Fan Taining wondered what kind of monster he had referred to the Secondary Career Alliance. Fan Taining and the others were so efficient that it shocked Wang Teng. Or rather, he had underestimated the importance of having a person with 3 Grandmaster titles in the Secondary Career Alliance. When the Grandmasters in the Secondary Career Alliance heard that there was a candidate who wanted to take 3 Grandmaster level assessments today, they were flabbergasted. They put down whatever matters they had and came to meet Wang Teng with Fan Taining. Fortunately, there were many Grandmasters in the Secondary Career Alliance today, or they wouldn't be able to gather enough people for the assessments. At this moment, in a lobby especially for Grandmasters, the Grandmasters of the Secondary Career Alliance were attending to Wang Teng. When they saw his face, they were dumbstruck again. This was a young man. He was too young. As Grandmasters, their spirits were all-powerful. One look and they could tell that Wang Ting hadn't hit his 20s yet. Fan Taining was in a rush, so he forgot to tell the Grandmasters Wang Ting's real age. This was why they were caught unprepared when they saw him for the first time. They felt that Fan Taining was fooling around with them after seeing the real person. Could this young man be a Grandmaster in 3 fields? Wasn't this a joke? There was a white-haired man with 3 eyes who looked around 30 walking in front of Fan Taining. He had a 3rd eye on his forehead. He looked like the fake Baron Wang Ting saw in the past. However, Wang Ting knew that there were many races in the universe with 3 eyes, so he wasn't surprised. The white-haired man turned back and glared at Fan Taining. He found him unreliable. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, this young man is a Grandmaster in 3 fields. Who are you trying to fool? Master, I'm not lying. Wang Ting's rune mastery is very high. I managed to achieve a breakthrough after receiving some enlightenment from him, Fan Taining said carefully. He was as timid as a child in front of his master. What about his smithery and alchemy? How much do you know? The white-haired man with 3 eyes asked angrily through voice transmission. He wouldn't say it outright. With his status and position, he wouldn't step on anyone's face, especially when that person was a talent introduced by his disciple. Actually, even if Wang Ting wasn't a Grandmaster in 3 fields, just being a Master-level Runemaster younger than 20 meant that he had a higher mastery than Fan Taining. It was enough to prove his talent, and he was happy to accept this talented junior under his wings. However, the boasting went a little too far. 3 Grandmaster titles? Where did they get the guts to say this? Weren't they afraid of slapping their faces? I don't know much about his alchemy and smithery mastery, Fan Taining replied in embarrassment after a moment of silence. The white-haired man with 3 eyes glared at him. Unfilial disciple, you're creating trouble for me. However, I believe that he will pass, Fan Tining promised with a stern expression. Are you sure? The white-haired man with 3 eyes frowned. Fan Tining didn't have great talent, but he respected him greatly. He would never lie to him in serious matters. Could Wang Ting really be a rare talent who managed to achieve 3 Grandmaster levels at a young age? Master, Wang Ting probably hails from an underdeveloped planet. He thought that there are many people with 3 Grandmaster titles here, so he worked hard in reaching this stage. That's also the reason why he managed to achieve such astonishing results at a young age, Fan Tining said confidently. Really? The white-haired man with 3 eyes was speechless. Are you trying to fool me? No way. I'll never lie to you. I'll believe you for now. The white-haired man with 3 eyes glanced at him. Alfred, is the young man your disciple referred to really a Grandmaster in 3 fields? The other Grandmasters started asking him through voice transmission. Don't ask me. I got pulled by Fan Tining here too. Alfred replied, since we're here, we'll know after testing him. Let's start from my Rune Master assessment first. Since Fan Tining was the one who started this matter, as his master, Alfred had to bear whatever consequences it might cause. Wang Ting noticed their reactions, but he remained quiet. He knew that some things couldn't be explained with words. Ability was the best proof. After some time, the white-haired man with 3 eyes in front of Fan Tining opened his mouth. Fan Tining's master, Alfred. We have processed your application. Are you okay with taking the rune assessment first? Grandmaster Alfred. He mustn't be impolite to a Grandmaster. Wang Ting bowed to the other party using their empire's etiquette. I'm fine with this. We can start. Alfred looked at Wang Ting's humble and confident expression and started to believe his disciple a little. He gave him a kind nod. Follow me. Alfred led the way. There were 2 other rune Grandmasters moving along with them. One had green skin and 3 silver patterns on his face. The other was a human who seemed to be in his 50s. They were the 3 Grandmasters who would be assessing Wang Ting this time. The Grandmaster level assessment room was not far away from the lobby. It was just next door. After all, Grandmasters must be treated properly. When Wang Ting walked in, he realized that this assessment room was extravagant. There were all sorts of facilities here, all prepared for him alone. This was incomparable to the master level assessment. 2. Chapter 963. I'll be mad at anyone who fails you. The contents of the Grandmaster level assessment are very simple. You just need to carve 3 Grandmaster level arrays within 5 hours. Of course, the examiners will come up with the arrays for the assessment. Alfred informed Wang Ting as he was sizing up the room. No problem. Please begin. Wang Ting nodded. Then let me come up with the first array. Grandmaster Alfred smiled as he looked at the other 2 Grandmasters. Please. The other 2 Grandmasters nodded and sat aside with a smile as they watched. My array shall be the Crimson Celestial Array. With a wave of Alfred's hand, an array diagram appeared in front of Wang Ting. Crimson Celestial Array. Wang Ting had never seen such an array before, but he knew that it wasn't a simple one when he looked at the diagram. The runes were complex and far exceeded ordinary arrays. Wang Ting glanced at Grandmaster Alfred. This old man was cunning. He had come up with an extremely challenging array. The other 2 Grandmasters exchanged glances and smirked. Grandmaster Alfred was obviously trying to avoid suspicion. Wang Ting wasn't afraid though and began after looking at the array carefully. 3 huge metal plates were placed in front of him, and they were all of moderate sizes. The difficulty of the array was also related to its size. The larger the array, the harder it was to carve. If it was too small, it would be challenging as well. On the other hand, a moderate-size array wouldn't be too difficult. Wang Ting glanced at the rune pen that was sitting on the table. With his spiritual power, he brought the pen over and started to carve runes on the metal plates. Spiritual kineses. Grandmaster Alfred raised his eyebrows in surprise. In the universe, there were relatively more divine spirit masters, but they were still quite rare. Those who wield spiritual kineses were generally not weak in their spirit talent. However, using spiritual power to carve arrays was much more difficult compared to carving them by hand. It seemed like Wang Teng was very confident. A meaningful smile appeared on Alfred's face. The other two grandmasters had the same expression. They straightened their bodies and started observing seriously. Wang Ting carved the runes on the metal plate with great speed. One after another, runes appeared on the metal plate, accompanied by golden light. As soon as one rune appeared, the next one followed without any pause. The grandmaster's eyes widened gradually. Wang Ting was too fast, enough for them to find it a little unbelievable. They even wondered if he had engraved the crimson celestial array before. Otherwise, he couldn't possibly be so skilled. After half an hour, Wang Ting suddenly stopped his rune pen. A complete array appeared on the metal plate, and a blinding crimson light shone. It was clear that the array was finished. Otherwise, there wouldn't be such a reaction. The grandmasters let out a long sigh at the same time. They were even more nervous watching Wang Ting inscribing the runes than when they were doing it themselves. Unbelievable. The grandmasters exchanged glances and their gazes changed completely when they looked at Wang Ting again. That was definitely the skill of a grandmaster. Although Wang Ting had only inscribed one rune array, they already believed that Wang Ting was at the grandmaster level. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to inscribe the rune array so quickly. Not many grandmasters would be able to do that. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks grandmasters, the second array please. Wang Teng's voice pulled the three grandmasters back to reality. Aren't you going to take a break? Grandmaster Alfred asked. There's no need for that. I think I can still do a few more. He sounded calm as if he was saying that he could eat 2 more bowls of rice. The grandmasters were speechless. Then I shall come up with the second array. The green-skinned grandmaster smiled and waved his hand. An array diagram appeared in mid-air. This is the polar meteor array, a third-rank grandmaster level array. Please begin. After learning about Wang Teng's prowess, he acted polite and gestured kindly. However, the polar meteor array was much more complicated than the crimson celestial array. Grandmaster-level rune arrays were categorized into 9 ranks. The higher the rank, the more complicated it was. The previous crimson celestial array was at the 2nd rank, while polar meteor array was a 3rd-rank array. It was clear that the grandmaster was a little curious and wanted to figure out Wang Ting's talent after witnessing his skills. There was a hint of surprise in Wang Ting's eyes as he scanned the diagram. This time, he took a longer time to memorize and analyze the array before he started inscribing. Nevertheless, he wasn't slower. Very soon, after half an hour, Wang Ting completed the array again. A silver light lit up, and the polar meteor array was completed. The grandmasters exchanged glances and were unable to hide their shock. Continue. Wang Ting said. The third array, Aqua Sea Dragon Array. It's a 3rd-rank grandmaster level array as well. The human grandmaster chose his array and gestured kindly. The array was not much different from the polar meteor array. It wasn't that the grandmaster didn't want to make it more difficult for Wang Ting. It was that this was the more difficult array that he had mastered. Wang Ting didn't know about the truth and looked at the diagram. He took a while before starting. Likewise, after half an hour, a blue array appeared. It shone brightly along with a roar of a dragon. A 9-headed blue dragon appeared above the array. One could feel its overwhelming aura. The Aqua Sea Dragon Array was completed. Wang Ting stopped his rune pen and placed it back in its original position. His expression remained unchanged as he looked toward the grandmasters. They were astounded and speechless. He didn't even take 2 hours and had already completed 3 grandmaster-level rune arrays. Excluding the time to memorize and analyze the diagrams, he only took half an hour each. He managed to complete 3 grandmaster-level arrays in such a short time without any mistakes. This was no longer something that an ordinary grandmaster could achieve. Grandmaster Wang Ting was not just a genius, he was a monster. Now, Alfred finally knew why Fan Tining admired Wang Ting so much. If he knew how amazing Wang Ting's skills were, he would have done that too. It was fortunate that they didn't stop Wang Ting from taking part in the Grandmaster assessment. Otherwise, they wouldn't have seen a peerless talent like him. The Grandmasters stared at Wang Ting with fiery hot eyes as if looking at a golden drumstick. They wanted to hug that golden drumstick. In their eyes, Wang Ting's skills were exceptional. He completed the 3 arrays without any challenge. They couldn't comprehend the depth of his skill. Grandmasters, have I passed the assessment? Wang Ting asked. Passed. You must pass. I'll be mad at anyone who fails you, Grandmaster Alfred replied hurriedly. Chapter 964, 9 Essence Soul Congealing Pill. That's good. I'll head to my next assessment then. Wang Ting turned around and left. He was a busy man. This assessment was a walkthrough. It possessed no difficulty for him. Grandmaster Wang Ting, are you really going for the other 2 Grandmaster level assessments? Grandmaster Alfred caught up with him and asked curiously. Yes. Wang Ting nodded. Has he really reached the Grandmaster level for all 3 fields? Alfred exchanged glances with the other 2 Grandmasters. They were astounded. They were starting to believe Wang Ting. His rune mastery was already extremely high, so it might be possible that he had reached the Grandmaster level for the other fields. After all, they probably couldn't understand the world of a genius. They exited the assessment room. Fan Tining hurriedly walked over. How is it? Master Wang Ting, did you pass? Slap. Grandmaster Alfred slapped his head. Is this what you should be calling him? Greet him as Grandmaster Wang Ting next time. Grandmaster. Fan Tining touched his head and muttered in astonishment, has really a Grandmaster? His gaze changed when he looked at Wang Ting again. Wang Ting suddenly became a Grandmaster, just like his master. He was a little unused to it. He knew that Wang Ting would probably pass the assessment, but when he really did, it felt like a dream. Despite being a Grandmaster, he was modest and even spent a beautiful night with him. He also answered many of his questions. Master Wang Ting. No, Grandmaster Wang Ting was indeed easily approachable. To hell with spending a beautiful night. If Wang Ting knew what Fan Tining was thinking, he might give him a kick. At this moment, the Grandmasters from the other fields walked over. One of them, who was in the alchemist's robe, exclaimed, Grandmaster Alfred, has Mr. Wang Ting passed your assessment? Yes, Grandmaster Hua Yuan, Grandmaster Wang Ting has passed the assessment with flying colors. He's definitely a Grandmaster now, Alfred said firmly. Grandmaster Hua Yuan's eyes lit up. In that case, Grandmaster Wang Ting, do you want to start the alchemy assessment? Of course. Wang Ting smiled. Please follow me, Grandmaster Hua Yuan said hurriedly. The fact that Wang Ting had passed the Rune Grandmaster assessment gave them hope that he was really a triple Grandmaster candidate. They didn't mind trying it out with him. If he was honestly a Grandmaster in 3 different fields, he would be a great asset to the Secondary Career Alliance. They had found a treasure. There was a competition within the Secondary Career Alliance too. With branches in every high-tier civilization or powerful faction, a friendly competition existed between all these branches. The Great Qian Empire branch hadn't found an outstanding candidate in a long time. If Wang Ting was a Grandmaster in 3 fields, they would be able to amaze the other branches. There were 4 alchemist Grandmasters, and all of them were present. They greeted Wang Ting enthusiastically and walked towards the alchemy assessment room at the side. Grandmaster Wang Ting, do you want to rest? Grandmaster Hua Yuan asked after they entered the assessment room. It's all right, we can start directly. Okay. The 4 Grandmasters were surprised. Wang Ting had just finished the Rune Grandmaster assessment, so he should have exhausted much of his spirit. However, he didn't need to rest. Was his spirit so powerful? But since he said that he didn't need it, they couldn't force him. Grandmaster Wang Ting, we'll need you to make a first-rank Grandmaster level and above Dan medicine for this alchemy assessment, Grandmaster Hua Yuan said. There were 9 levels of Dan medicine. 1st to 3rd were low rank, 4th to 6th were middle rank, and 7th to 9th were high rank. The higher the rank of the Dan medicine, the higher the mastery of the Grandmaster. This assessment only required the alchemist to make a first-rank Grandmaster level Dan. This was the lowest requirement. Of course, Grandmaster level Dan medicines weren't easy to refine. Not only were the requirements high, but the Dan-making process was also extremely complicated. One needed to control the fire properly. The difficulty was unimaginable. Every single Grandmaster level Dan needed at least 500 different herbs. The number was astonishing. The changes during the process were hard to predict too. Any carelessness could cause an explosion and a failure. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, many master-level alchemists were unable to make Grandmaster-level Dan medicine even after spending their entire life studying it. That was why they could only stay at the master level. Also, the appearance of Grandmaster-level Dans were accompanied by a lightning calamity. It would only become a Grandmaster-level Dan if it overcame it. If not, it was a useless Dan. 1 bolt of lightning meant it was a first-rank Dan. 2 bolts meant that it was a second-rank Dan. The greater the number of bolts, the higher the rank. Grandmaster Wang Teng, what Grandmaster-level Dan are you planning to make? I'll ask them to prepare the ingredients. We can provide 3 sets of ingredients for you, Grandmaster Hua Yuan asked. Let me see. Wang Teng took a look at this attributes panel. Suddenly, he remembered that his alchemist level was still at the master level. He hadn't had the time to raise it. But there was no need to panic. Grandmasters, I'd like to visit the washroom first, Wang Teng said suddenly. The 4 Grandmasters were stunned. They thought that Wang Teng was going to say something important, but he just wanted to visit the washroom. This was a little unexpected. Normally, powerful martial warriors could control their urge to visit the washroom, but if he wanted to go, they couldn't stop him. Go ahead. Grandmaster Hua Yuan nodded. The corners of his lips were twitching. The assessment room had everything but a washroom. Thus, Wang Ting had to leave the assessment room and head to the public toilet. Of course, his aim wasn't the washroom. He needed an excuse to go out and pick up some alchemist attribute bubbles. It wasn't hard to find the place where the alchemists were at. You could just ask around. There was a huge bunch of rooms for the alchemists, where alchemists were busy refining pills. Wang Teng released his spiritual power and picked up all the attribute bubbles dropped on the ground. Alchemy *150 Alchemy *300 Imperial Realm Spirit *100 Alchemy *500 Planetary Realm Spirit *200 Alchemy *350 Dan Prescription *1 The quality of the attribute bubbles was unequal. Some had a higher value while others had a higher realm. However, Wang Teng didn't mind. He collected all of them. His alchemy and spirit rose greatly, especially his alchemy level. It finally broke through the master level and reached the Grandmaster level. Alchemist, 2100 10,000, Grandmaster. There were many master alchemists in the rooms and 1 or 2 Grandmasters. They helped to raise Wang Ting's mastery. He even had 2,100 extra points. He also gained a Grandmaster level Dan prescription. The 9 Essence Soul Congealing Pill. This would be his prescription for the assessment. Chapter 965. What a big treasure. After Wang Teng collected the attribute bubbles, he paced around a little before returning to prepare for his alchemist assessment. The Secondary Career Alliance is a good place, Wang Teng lamented as he toured the area where he had received the Dan prescription. This was his first Dan prescription dropped as an attribute bubble. He did receive Dan prescriptions in the past when he picked up alchemy attributes, but they all got merged within alchemy attributes. It looked like to the system, only Grandmaster level Dan prescriptions were worth an individual bubble. The 9 Essence Soul Congealing Pill was an amazing pill. It was extremely rare, and it could help in retaining one's soul. It was a miracle medicine for people whose souls were heavily injured. Even if one's soul wasn't injured, eating 1 or 2 as a healthy supplement had great benefits for the soul too. This was why this 3rd rank Grandmaster level Dan was worth more than other pills of a similar rank. Of course, its difficulty was greater than normal 3rd rank Dan medicines. In the assessment room, Wang Ting pushed the door and entered. Grandmaster Wang Ting, you're finally back. What took you so long? Grandmaster Hua Yuan greeted him and asked curiously. Oh, it was a huge one. Wang Ting came up with an excuse. The 4 grandmasters. This was a smelly conversation. It should be stopped immediately. Cough, Grandmaster Wang Ting, have you decided which den you wish to refine? Grandmaster Hua Yuan asked. I want to make the 9 essence soul congealing pill, Wang Teng replied directly. 9 essence soul congealing pill. The 4 grandmasters exclaimed in surprise simultaneously. There was astonishment on their faces. The 9 essence soul congealing pill wasn't easy to make. Grandmaster Wang Ting wanted to refine a 3rd-rank Dan medicine with a higher level of difficulty. Was he so confident? They didn't know the prescription for the 9 essence soul congealing pill, but Wang Teng did. He even knew how to refine it. This was highly unexpected. Grandmaster Wang Teng, you can choose an easier Grandmaster level Dan medicine. Grandmaster Hua Yuan hesitated before saying. Wang Teng wanted to, but this was the only prescription he knew. However, he couldn't tell them the real reason, so he felt helpless. But he mustn't destroy his image. Since he wanted to portray that he was a rare talent who was a grandmaster in 3 different fields, he couldn't let others know that he only knew one Dan prescription. Thus, he replied calmly, it's all right. I'll make the 9 essence soul congealing pill. Fine. Tell me the ingredients you need, and I'll ask them to prepare immediately. Grandmaster Hua Yuan was even more surprised when Wang Teng stayed firm in his decision. He stopped persuading him. Wang Teng immediately listed the ingredients he needed. You might need to wait. The ingredients required are a little uncommon. We probably need some time. Grandmaster Hua Yuan frowned. Then, he turned around and ordered the staff to prepare the ingredients. Grandmaster Wang Ting, why do you want to make the 9 essence soul congealing pill? One of the grandmasters asked. This grandmaster was a female from the rabbit race. Her name was Harrel, and she was quite pretty. Besides the protruding front teeth, there were no other issues with her looks. She seemed young, but her real age was probably quite high. I just randomly chose a simpler one, Wang Ting said. Randomly chose a simpler one? Grandmaster Harrel was stunned. She didn't know how to continue this conversation. If the 9 essence soul congealing pill was an easy pill, what about the other Grandmaster level Dans? Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Although Grandmaster Harrel felt that Wang Ting was putting on an act, she had no evidence. Wang Ting's serious expression made her wonder if she was kicking up a fuss. She might think that it was difficult, but he probably didn't think so. This was the difference between them. Grandmaster Harrel almost got depressed. Grandmaster Wang Ting, do we need to prepare a furnace for you? Grandmaster Hua Yuan hurriedly changed the topic. No need, I have my own furnace. Wang Teng was stunned. He suddenly remembered that he had a good furnace stored in his space fragment. He hadn't been using it much. Black meteorite, I've been neglecting you. Wang Teng felt guilty. Grandmaster level Dans have a higher requirement for furnaces. The quality of the furnace must be good, or it might explode during the process due to high heat. Also, don't forget that you need to overcome a calamity after you finish refining the Dan. The furnace will be within the proximity of the lightning bolt, so if it gets damaged, it might affect the final product, Grandmaster Hua Yuan explained. He had learned from Grandmaster Alfred that Wang Teng came from a faraway planet, so he probably didn't have a good furnace. He reminded him in case anything untoward happened during the Dan-making process. Is it? Wang Teng frowned. He remembered that his black meteorite was a legendary furnace that had accompanied many grandmasters. It should be able to withstand the lightning calamity. If the quality of your furnace isn't good enough, we can lend you ours. You don't have to be polite, Grandmaster Hua Yuan said. He wanted to buy a favor and create a good relationship with Wang Teng. As someone who was able to make the 9 essence soul congealing pill, his alchemy mastery must be high. Even if he didn't succeed in the end, it still meant that he had no problems making easier Grandmaster level Dan medicine. Most importantly, Wang Teng was young. Being young meant that he had great potential. He mustn't miss a chance to befriend this genius. Grandmaster Hua Yuan, can I use this furnace? Wang Teng didn't know if his black meteorite could be used, so he took it out and asked the grandmasters to take a look for him. Swoosh! A black shadow flew in the air. A pitch-black ancient furnace with patterns of fire and clouds carved around it appeared in everyone's vision. Under the control of his spiritual kinesis, it landed lightly on the ground. The fire and cloud patterns changed shape continuously. Sometimes, they took the form of a dragon, while other times, they looked like a phoenix. They kept turning into different mythical beasts, appearing divine and majestic. The four grandmasters couldn't shift their gaze away after seeing the furnace. "This is..." Grandmaster Hua Yuan jumped out of his chair and leaned close to get a better look. The other three grandmasters reacted similarly too. They sprung up and gathered around the furnace like children who saw their beloved toy. "This is an exceptional Grandmaster-level furnace," Grandmaster Hua Yuan complimented. His eyes were shining brightly. "That's right, this is an exceptional Grandmaster-level furnace. Listen to the sound. It's magical." A Grandmaster knocked on the furnace with his hand and placed his ear on the furnace to listen to its vibration. As Grandmaster alchemists, they were extremely familiar with furnaces. Even from its sound, they could hear what others couldn't. "This is a precious treasure." Grandmaster Harrell caressed the patterns of the surface of the furnace and said in fascination. "Phut, cough." Wang Ting almost spurted the tea he was drinking. "Grandmasters, is my furnace okay?" The four grandmasters, "Oh yes, of course. My furnace pales in comparison to yours. To think I wanted to lend you mine. I'll be embarrassed if I take it out," Grandmaster Hua Yuan said with a forced smile. "Grandmaster Hua Yuan, you're too polite." Wang Teng's expression turned weird. He felt that it was a great stimulation to this old man. Chapter 966, The Ji Family. 1. Although Grandmaster Hua Yuan told him he needed to wait, the staff soon gathered the ingredients. Grandmaster Hua Yuan took over the space ring and said to Wang Teng, "We don't have the prescription for the 9-essence soul congealing pill, so only a few people know how to refine it. We don't have many ingredients. The Alliance can only find 2 sets. I'll ask people to search for the last set outside." "It's all right, 2 sets are enough." Wang Ting waved his hand and said, "If I can't make it using the first 2 sets, the third set would most likely be wasted too." Grandmaster Hua Yuan was a little hesitant. He wished that Wang Ting could pass the alchemy assessment, so he wanted to get 3 sets of ingredients for him. That way, his success rate would be higher. However, since Wang Ting didn't mind it, he remained quiet. He just asked the staff to prepare the third set of ingredients silently. "Okay, these are the 2 sets of ingredients. You can use them to make the 9-essence soul congealing pill first." Grandmaster Hua Yuan passed Wang Ting the space ring. Wang Ting nodded. Taking the space ring, he walked to the middle of the room. Black meteorite floated up and followed him automatically. There was a fire vent in the middle of the room, connected to the fire below. Black meteorite landed on the vent. Wang Teng took out the ingredients and placed them before him. He closed his eyes, going over the process of refining the Dan in his mind. The grandmasters sat down a few meters away from him. This distance was just right. They wouldn't disturb him, but they could still observe him. They didn't panic when they noticed that Wang Teng didn't start immediately. Instead, he seemed to be resting. They waited quietly too. After some time, Wang Teng opened his eyes abruptly, and a smart glint flashed past them. He wrapped multiple ingredients, spiritual herbs and spiritual flowers, with his spiritual power and tossed them into the furnace. Swoosh! At the same time, an emerald flame burned on his hand. He threw it to the bottom of black meteorite. Wang Teng didn't use the fire provided by the Alliance, preferring the emerald glazed flame instead. Divine flames were the best support for alchemists. They were much better compared to the normal fire. Also, Wang Teng was the owner of the emerald glazed flame, so he could use it smoothly. He had a better grasp of it compared to the normal fire. The 4 grandmasters stood up from their seats again when they saw the emerald glazed flame. They stared at the flame intently. Divine flame. They forcefully suppressed the astonishment in their hearts, lest they disturbed Wang Teng. However, They were dumbstruck. That's definitely a divine flame. Grandmaster Wang Ting possesses a divine flame. He's so lucky. He has an exceptional Grandmaster level furnace and a divine flame. Grandmaster Wang Ting has many good things. I'm so jealous. The four Grandmasters started chatting through voice transmissions. Their eyes turned red. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, both the furnace and the divine flame were items highly desired by Grandmaster alchemists. However, they were rare and could only be found by luck. Yet, Wang Ting had both of them. How could they not be envious? They might be Grandmasters, but they almost lost their senses. Wang Ting didn't know what they were thinking. He was focused on refining the ingredients. The emerald flame seeped through the gaps of the furnace and wrapped around the ingredients. There was a black spiritual flower. No ashes were left after it got burned by the emerald flame. Only a ball of grayish-black liquid floated in the furnace. Wang Ting was multitasking. All the ingredients he threw into the furnace got refined. They either turned into liquid or powder. This required precise control of the fire. A single careless mistake and the entire spiritual herb or flower might get burned, leaving no essence behind. The four Grandmasters felt cold sweat dripping down their foreheads when they saw Wang Ting refining 18 ingredients at once. This operation was a little suffocating. They couldn't do it. The scary thing was, Wang Ting didn't make any mistakes. All the 18 ingredients were refined successfully, and then, he threw another 18 ingredients in. The four Grandmasters held their breaths. They were staring at him intently. At this rate, he would be able to refine all the ingredients and make the Dan in less than 3 hours. While Wang Ting was making the 9-essence soul congealing pill, at the location where he received the prescription, a dusty elder with red hair walked out of a Grandmaster class furnace room. Black smoke blew out behind him, accompanied by a burnt smell. The furnace room had an automatic air circulation function. Once an alchemist failed and released some odor, the system would automatically release the odor out of the room. But this time, the red-haired elder had failed miserably. The entire furnace room was filled with black smoke, which couldn't be cleared instantly. Hence, he had to run out. Cough. The red-haired elder coughed violently. He almost choked to death in the thick fumes. This elder was a Grandmaster alchemist of the Secondary Career Alliance. He was helping someone to make a Grandmaster level Dan today, so he didn't participate in Wang Ting's alchemy assessment. A few people were waiting agitatedly outside his room. There were males and females. When they saw the red-haired elder coming out, they crowded around him and asked anxiously, "Grandmaster Curtin, what happened?" Cough. The furnace exploded. Grandmaster Curtin waved his hand. His expression was a little ugly. Exploded? How did that happen? Grandmaster Curtin, isn't your success rate of making the 9-essence soul congealing pill 60%? Why would your furnace explode? Chapter 967 What will we do with Grandpa's injury if we don't have the 9-essence soul congealing pill? The expressions of the youngsters changed. However, they could only speak through voice transmission as this was a Grandmaster. Grandmaster Curtin was the one who had dropped the Dan prescription of the 9-essence soul congealing pill. The middle-aged man standing in front got anxious. Grandmaster Curtin, did you fail for all 5 sets of ingredients? Yes. Grandmaster Curtin felt a little awkward. There's always a failure rate. I've found the feeling though. Give me a few more sets, and I'll definitely succeed. The middle-aged man sighed in his heart. However, he couldn't reprimand him. He hesitated before saying, "You're right. However, you know that the ingredients for this Dan are hard to find. It took a lot of effort to get the 5 sets. Don't worry, there should be a few ingredients left in the alliance. I think I should be able to use them with my status," Grandmaster Curtin said with an embarrassed smile. "I'll have to trouble you then. I'll repay you later. My family will bear the cost of the ingredients," the middle-aged man promised hurriedly as his eyes lit up. "It's nothing. The main thing is the 9-essence soul congealing pill. I'll fulfill my promise to you." Grandmaster Curtin waved his hand. He contacted the staff in the Alliance, wanting to get the sets of 9 essence soul congealing pill ingredients. But soon, his face turned black. Grandmaster Curtain, what's the matter? The middle-aged man knew that something was wrong when he saw his expression. Someone took the ingredients just now, Grandmaster Curtain said helplessly. Who is it? Is it too late to get them back? The G family is willing to pay any price, the middle-aged man said hurriedly. Grandmaster Hua Yuan took it. There's a Grandmaster level assessment today, and the candidate knows how to refine the 9 essence soul congealing pill. Let's take a look. We might be able to stop him. One can make other dance for the Grandmaster level assessment. There's no need to make it complicated, Grandmaster Curtain said as he rushed toward the assessment room. The middle-aged man and the others followed him. Grandmaster Alfred and the other Grandmasters were waiting outside the room. It was quite a magnificent scene to see a whole group of Grandmasters gathered in one place. Do you think Grandmaster Wang Ting will pass the alchemy assessment? A Grandmaster asked uncontrollably. Despite being in the audience, they felt even more nervous than Wang Teng. I think so. Alfred pondered before replying. Grandmaster Alfred looks very confident in Grandmaster Wang Teng. A Grandmaster smiled and said. Ha ha ha, if you saw his assessment, you'd think the same way, Grandmaster Alfred said. The other 2 rune Grandmasters nodded in agreement. The Grandmaster Blacksmiths were surprised by their reaction. They were the only ones who hadn't seen Wang Teng's assessment, so they were filled with curiosity. While they were discussing, Grandmaster Curtain charged over fiercely with a bunch of people. Seeing the situation outside the room, they were stunned. What's the matter? Why are there so many Grandmasters here? Grandmaster Curtain was dumbfounded. Grandmaster Curtain, what are you doing? Grandmaster Alfred got up and asked. Grandmaster Curtain remembered the purpose of his visit and replied hurriedly, Grandmaster Alfred, is Grandmaster Hua Yuan holding the assessment for the candidate now? Indeed. You know about this too? Of course, I know. Did they take the ingredients for the 9 essence soul congealing pill? Grandmaster Curtain wanted to barge in as he spoke. Wait, what are you doing? Grandmaster Alfred's expression changed, stopping him furiously. Grandmaster Curtain, you can't go in. There's someone taking the Grandmaster assessment inside. You will offend him if you enter now. That's right. This assessment is very important. You can't go in. The other Grandmasters ran over hurriedly and stood in Grandmaster Curtain's path. What are you guys doing? Grandmaster Curtain's expression changed. He didn't expect so many Grandmasters to come and stop him. He wondered who the person inside was. How could he have such power? Grandmaster Curtain recalled the G family. If he could make the 9 essence soul congealing pill, he could gain a favor from them, benefiting him greatly. He decided to take the risk and said, I have an emergency use for the 9 essence soul congealing pill. I'll explain to the candidate and apologize to him. No, this candidate is different. We can't offend him, Grandmaster Alfred said. The other Grandmasters nodded fervently. They agreed with Grandmaster Alfred's decision. This was a triple Grandmaster candidate. His significance to the alliance was different. Even if the probability was low, they mustn't take the risk. Grandmaster Curtain didn't think that these Grandmasters would still stop him after he repeated his request. His heart dropped. Did this candidate have such a powerful background? Why were these Grandmasters helping him? Grandmasters, can't you give the G family some leeway? The 9 essence soul congealing pill is extremely important to us. A middle-aged man stepped out from behind Grandmaster Curtain and cupped his fists at the Grandmasters. The G family. The Grandmaster's expressions changed. Is it one of the 8 dukes, Duke Zukong's G family? Alfred took a deep breath and asked. Not bad, the middle-aged man replied proudly. Alfred exchanged glances with the other Grandmasters. In the end, he shook his head and said apologetically, I'm sorry, we still can't permit you to enter. The middle-aged man's expression turned black. Even though he had used the G family's name, these Grandmasters were still unwilling to give him face. Were they looking down on them? Grandmaster Alfred, who's the person inside? Asked Grandmaster Curtain. Alfred read his expression and explained, The candidate inside might be a triple grandmaster. We don't want to offend the G family, but this potential triple grandmaster title is extremely important to our alliance. We're really sorry. Triple grandmaster. Grandmaster Curtin was shocked. He finally understood why Grandmaster Alfred and the others stopped him. If he offended the other party, he might have to cut ties with these grandmasters. A triple grandmaster was too important for the alliance. He wouldn't want to get on the bad side of this genius either. The middle-aged man's expression changed. Naturally, he understood what this triple grandmaster title meant. No wonder the grandmasters treated him as such even after learning he was from the G family. It was understandable. The middle-aged man sighed uncontrollably. He couldn't enter forcefully since he didn't want to offend all these grandmasters. Shaking his head, he said, "I understand, I'm the reckless one. Actually, you don't have to be disappointed. What if he succeeds?" Alfred smiled and said, "Oh right." The middle-aged man's eyes lit up. "It's just an assessment. He might not need the 9-essence soul congealing pill. You can buy it from him," Alfred said. "Ha ha ha, indeed. Thank you for reminding me," the middle-aged man laughed and said. Grandmaster Curtin couldn't bear to douse his happiness when he saw the smile on the man's face. He had refined the 9-essence soul congealing pill before, so he knew how difficult the process was. The person inside might not succeed. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 968. The final moment. The group of people waited anxiously outside the assessment room. Grandmaster Alfred and the other grandmasters were waiting to see if Wang Teng could pass the alchemy grandmaster level assessment. They truly wanted a triple grandmaster candidate. The G family didn't care about that. Compared to the triple grandmaster title, their focus was on the 9-essence soul congealing pill. As for Grandmaster Curtin, he was wondering who the candidate was. Triple grandmaster. This was extremely rare. Only an exceptional genius could achieve this. He wanted to see how impressive this person was to be able to let these grandmasters disregard the G family and help him. Grandmaster Alfred, which life planet is this talent from? Grandmaster Curtin knew that the assessment had just started for half an hour, so there was a long way to go. He opened up a conversation with Grandmaster Alfred. "I'm not sure either. However, I heard that he's from a faraway planet." "A faraway planet?" Grandmaster Curtin frowned. "Will a faraway planet be able to breed such a genius?" Don't look down on faraway planets. As time goes by, these planets have raised many amazing talents. The middle-aged man from the G family shook his head and said. Grandmaster Curtin was stunned. After some pondering, he realized that the man was right. Many impressive talents came from faraway planet. Most of them became the leaders of their generation. When they matured, they became indomitable martial warriors in their territory and enjoyed the fame of being unparalleled in the universe. This candidate has passed the rune assessment and is a grandmaster in runes. If he passes this alchemy assessment, he will have 2 grandmaster titles, Grandmaster Alfred said. He has already passed the rune assessment. Everyone was shocked. That meant that the candidate inside had at least 1 grandmaster title. Most importantly, he's younger than 20. Alfred smiled. Less than 20. This time, everyone was dumbstruck. A less than 20-year-old grandmaster and a 100-year-old grandmaster were 2 different concepts. A young grandmaster had a bigger possibility of reaching a higher level in the future. Even a hegemon like the G family would have to treat this person with care. The middle-aged man was extremely polite towards Grandmaster Curtin because they needed his help. But if any other grandmasters provoked them, the G family wasn't afraid of retaliating. This was why he stood up when Grandmaster Alfred and the other grandmasters stopped him from barging into the assessment room. The difference in ability was apparent. The G family was a huge and powerful faction. They had the ability to handle a few grandmasters. But if the person reached a higher level, even they wouldn't dare to promise that they could deal with them. A grandmaster already had a strong network. They could even befriend universe stage or eternal stage martial warriors. Conversely, these martial warriors would have to think thrice before going against a powerful faction like the Ji family. Grandmasters needed to pay a high price before they could convince these martial warriors to help them. No wonder. No wonder. Grandmaster Curtin gave a bitter smile. He cupped his fists at Grandmaster Alfred and said, "Fortunately, you stopped me earlier. If not, I'd be the sinner of the alliance." Grandmaster Curtin, you're being too polite. You were worried too. We're both thinking for the alliance. It's good that we understand each other now, Grandmaster Alfred said with a smile. Polite remarks could be made by anyone. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks as a Grandmaster, since the other party had admitted his mistake, he wouldn't hoard onto it and offend him unnecessarily. Grandmaster Curtin, you have helped me greatly. The Ji family will send some gifts to show our appreciation. The middle-aged man cupped his fists and said, "You're too polite. I didn't complete my task." I'm embarrassed by the undeserved praise. Grandmaster Curtin waved his hand. As they were waiting, Wang Ting was refining his dan quickly. Indeed, he did it quickly. More than an hour later, all the 628 ingredients needed for the 9-essence soul congealing pill were refined. There were 120 main ingredients and 508 auxiliary materials. The difficulty of their refinement was different. Main ingredients were harder to refine, so one needed to control the fire carefully. However, to Wang Ting, there was no difference. He just had to refine them. He would throw 18 ingredients in the furnace randomly at once and process them simultaneously. No ingredient was treated differently. Hua Yuan, Harrell, and the other grandmasters suddenly felt that alchemy was extremely easy when they watched him. In the blink of an eye, all the 628 ingredients were dealt with. The grandmasters glanced at one another, unable to hide the astonishment in their eyes. Suddenly, they straightened their backs. They saw Wang Ting's next action. He was merging the ingredients. They stared straight at the furnace. Although they couldn't see the situation inside, they knew that it was time for the ingredients to mix together. Wang Ting used his spiritual power to control all the ingredients. They were either in liquid or powder form. They spun in the furnace before congregating in the middle one by one. Then, they started merging with one another. Wang Ting strictly followed the Dan prescription. There was a specific order for the merging of the ingredients. The amount of each ingredient was specific too. Not 1 milligram of difference could be accepted. Grandmaster alchemists had undergone many trials before they came up with the final Dan prescription. One wouldn't be able to get the prescription just by looking. This was why Wang Ting didn't care if the 4 grandmasters watched his Dan-making process. They couldn't see much anyway. There were more than 600 ingredients in the furnace. If he didn't refine them personally and mark them using his spiritual power, he wouldn't be able to differentiate them, much less others. Thus, the Dan prescription was extremely important. Many alchemists treasured their prescriptions dearly and kept them to themselves. They would never share them. For instance, this 9-essence soul congealing pill was a rare Dan medicine. Grandmaster Curtin had relied on it to make his name. Many formidable warriors would look for him to ask for a pill. After all, injuring the spirit was inevitable during a battle between powerful martial warriors since the majority of them would use spiritual attacks. To them, the 9-essence soul congealing pill was a life-saving trump card. While Wang Ting was merging the ingredients, the 4 grandmasters held their breaths. They didn't shift their gazes away even for a split second. Wang Ting turned serious. He was even more focused than when he was refining the ingredients. The merging of the ingredients was much more difficult than refining them. Any carelessness could cause his efforts to go to waste. Hence, he was prudent. Pest. The sound of liquid touching the bottom of the furnace and burning was heard continuously. Everyone was tense. They were afraid that the sound would suddenly change, signaling a failure at the last step. Time passed slowly in this tense atmosphere. 3. Chapter 969. The 4 grandmasters were interacting using voice transmission. They kept staring at the black furnace and the young figure who was sitting beside it with closed eyes. 5 hours. Grandmaster Harold glanced at the time and replied. It's longer than expected, Grandmaster Hua Yuan said. That's right. Based on his speed, I thought that he would be able to complete it in 3 hours, another Grandmaster said. Could there be a problem? I don't think so. No accidents happened during the refining and the merging process. It should be a success. Let's wait and see. Grandmaster Hua Yuan let out a long sigh. 5 hours had passed since Wang Teng merged all the ingredients. If anyone could see the situation inside Black Meteorite, they would see 3 purple darns twirling slowly at the bottom of the furnace. There were 9 crevices on the surface of each dan, giving off a glow and looking magical. That was right, there were 3 darns. Wang Teng's refining process went extremely smoothly, so he didn't waste any ingredients. There was enough to make 3 darns. He didn't want to waste any ingredients, so he decided to make 3 9 essence soul congealing pills. Actually, after Wang Teng digested the pill formula, he knew that the 9 essence soul congealing pill was a rare dan and was slightly expensive. He was lacking money currently. Since the Secondary Career Alliance provided him the ingredients, he would definitely maximize its value. As there were 3 dans, it would naturally take a longer time. But the 4 Grandmasters didn't know about that. Wang Ting covered the 3 dans with his spiritual power so that the fragrance wouldn't scatter, not allowing his secret to leak. If the 4 Grandmasters smelled the strong fragrance, they would definitely know what was happening. Wang Teng didn't do this on purpose. He did it so that he could preserve the efficacy of the pill. All kinds of problems could crop up during the refinement. The alchemist needed to control the procedures firmly. If a mistake occurred in any step, the final product would be defective. Of course, if all the procedures were handled with extreme care and control, there would be unexpected gains. No matter what, to ensure the effects of the dan, normally, 6th level and above dans were considered successful. If they reached the 8th or 9th level, they were of excellent quality. In the dan market, the price of excellent quality dans was many times that of normal dans. However, such high-class dans usually appeared during auctions so that they could fetch the maximum price. Wang Teng remained calm. He wasn't impatient. He was gradually infusing the efficacy of the ingredients into the dan. At this stage, the 9 essence soul congealing pill was almost complete. Only the lightning calamity was left. After that, it would be a true Grandmaster level pill. Time seemed to have slowed down again. Another 5 hours passed. The sky had turned dark outside. Grandmaster Hua Yuan finally noticed something amiss. He stared at Wang Ting in astonishment. Then, he exchanged glances with the other Grandmasters. This situation might mean that Grandmaster Wang Ting's dan is of an extremely high quality. Grandmaster Hua Yuan's tone was serious. He was using voice transmission. Yes, the possibility is high. The other Grandmasters agreed with him. They were all Grandmasters and were experienced in making dans. They could guess what was happening. It looks like we'll need to wait longer. Grandmaster Harold gave a forced smile. Then, her eyes lit up, and she looked toward Black Meteorite as if there was a treasure hiding inside. If he succeeds, it will be an extraordinary dan. I'm happy to wait. Another Grandmaster smiled. Most candidates will choose an easier dan for the assessment, rarely producing a high-class one. This isn't a scene we can see every day, the other Grandmaster chimes in. Let me inform the people outside. They have been waiting for a long time. Grandmaster Hua Yuan got up silently and walked out of the room. He didn't disturb Wang Teng. The instant he walked out, everyone crowded around him. The middle-aged man from the Ji family and Grandmaster Curtin thought that Wang Teng had failed. After all, Grandmaster Hua Yuan came out before any lightning calamity. Grandmaster Hua Yuan, did he fail? Grandmaster Alfred frowned and asked. Grandmaster Hua Yuan was stunned for a moment. Then, he laughed and said, "You've misunderstood. I came out to inform you that this assessment might last for a few more hours. I don't know when it will end." As long as he didn't fail. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Why is it so long? Grandmaster Hua Yuan, how many sets of ingredients did you prepare? Grandmaster Curtin frowned and asked. He thought that Grandmaster Hua Yuan had prepared many sets of ingredients for Wang Teng, which resulted in the long refining time. Grandmaster Curtain, why are you here? Grandmaster Hua Yuan finally noticed Grandmaster Curtain. He was surprised. I was making the 9 Essence Soul congealing pill, but I didn't have enough ingredients. I wanted to borrow from the Alliance. However, I was a step slower than you. I heard that there is a triple Grandmaster candidate taking the assessment, and he also knows how to make the 9 Essence Soul congealing pill, Grandmaster Curtain explained. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 970. I see. Grandmaster Hua Yuan nodded in enlightenment. So what's going on? Why the hold-up? How many sets of ingredients did you prepare? Even if Hez a triple Grandmaster candidate, this isn't right, Grandmaster Curtain said. Grandmaster Curtain, you're thinking too much. We only prepare 3 sets of ingredients for the Grandmaster level assessment. You should know that the ingredients for the 9 Essence Soul congealing pill are rare, so we only managed to get 2 sets. Grandmaster Hua Yuan shook his head and replied. 2 sets. Grandmaster Curtain was dumbfounded. Why is it taking so long then? Grandmaster Wang Teng's done might be of a high quality. Grandmaster Curtain's gaze changed. He knew what Grandmaster Hua Yuan meant. The other party didn't fail. Instead, he was gradually infusing the ingredients into the pill. This was most likely a high-level Dan. Does this mean that Hez at the last step? Grandmaster Curtain asked agitatedly. Yes. What's more, he only used 1 set of ingredients, Grandmaster Hua Yuan complimented with a smile. 1 set. Grandmaster Curtain felt a stab in his heart. Everyone looked at him with different emotions in their eyes. The 9 Essence Soul congealing pill had made Grandmaster Curtain famous. His success rate was said to be 60%. At the same time, the quality of his pills could reach the 5th level. However, Wang Teng managed to succeed with only 1 set of ingredients. From the time he was spending, the quality of his pill would probably exceed the 5th level too. Based on this, Grandmaster Curtain seemed to have been defeated by Grandmaster Wang Teng. The middle-aged man from the Ji family couldn't care less about the mood. He asked excitedly, does that mean that this Grandmaster's Dan will be of a high level? You are. Grandmaster Hua Yuan asked curiously. Please read on website, myboxen0vl.com. This is Mr. Ji Yuanqing from the Ji family, Grandmaster Alfred introduced. The Ji family. Grandmaster Hua Yuan was shocked. He nodded and replied, Mr. Ji Yuanqing, you're right. The 9 Essence Soul congealing pill made by Grandmaster Wang Teng will be a high-level Dan. That's great. Ji Yuanqing clapped his hands happily. The higher the quality, the better the effects. This was a widely known fact. To him, it was a great piece of news. This is. Grandmaster Hua Yuan didn't know what was happening. He was puzzled. One of my family members injured his soul and needs the 9 Essence Soul congealing pill urgently. I see. What a coincidence. You can ask Grandmaster Wang Teng to sell his pill to you. I think he won't reject the chance to befriend the Ji family. Grandmaster Hua Yuan smiled and said. Ha ha ha, as long as the refinement is successful, the Ji family will give Grandmaster Wang Teng a fair price. Ji Yuanqing laughed. Grandmaster Curtain didn't feel good. He should be the one gaining this favor, but in the end, it landed in the hands of a Grandmaster he had never seen before. He had pushed the chance in this person's face. I wonder when he will succeed. Why don't you go back to have some rest? Grandmaster Hua Yuan suggested. No way. Well, wait here until Grandmaster Wang Teng succeeds. Grandmaster Alfred shook his head firmly. That's right, well, wait here, Ji Yuanqing agreed hurriedly. Grandmaster Hua Yuan didn't persuade them further. At their stage, staying up for one night wouldn't affect them. He turned around and returned to the assessment room. Grandmaster Curtain also wanted to go in, but he was too embarrassed to ask. Thus, he remained outside. Wang Teng was still working on the refinement patiently. He didn't know that the audience outside the room had gotten bigger. Time passed slowly. Soon, dawn arrived. The sun rose up into the sky, heralding a new day. Many people came to the Secondary Career Alliance early in the morning and started working on their own businesses as always. But in this calm and peaceful atmosphere, a beam of white light suddenly shot out from the Secondary Career Alliance. The forces in the surrounding vibrated, and a powerful string of energy was sucked over. After the white beam of light appeared, dark clouds started to gather above the Secondary Career Alliance. Within a few seconds, as more and more dark clouds gathered, the sky turned completely black. However, the other areas of the city were still bright and shiny. The weather was sunny. This strange scene attracted many people's attention. Bolts of lightning swarmed among the dark clouds like silver snakes. A terrifying pressure bore down on the Alliance building. This is the lightning calamity. Someone recognized the origin of the dark clouds and lightning and exclaimed, "Which Grandmaster made a Grandmaster-level Dan? Or a Grandmaster-level weapon? I haven't seen a Grandmaster in action for some time. I didn't expect this huge surprise early in the morning. Prepare your peanuts and popcorn. Get your seats. There's no need to squeeze." Everyone rushed out of their houses to witness this lightning calamity. At the same time, in the assessment room, Grandmaster Hua Yuan and the other 3 examiners were overjoyed when they saw the sudden pillar of light. They screamed in delight. "Quick, open the dome of the Alliance." Actually, he didn't need to say it. When the beam of light appeared, the dome opened automatically. A thicker beam of white light shot out of black meteorite, causing the original beam of light to widen. It soared right into the sky. The lightning in the dark clouds seemed to have been provoked. The silver bolts danced wildly, and thunder roared, echoing in the entire city. Wang Ting stood up. The dark clouds had become thicker and denser. They seemed to be pressing down. Yet, he remained calm. He looked up at the dark clouds just a few meters above his head. Bolts of lightning clashed among the clouds and released thunderous roars that clapped right beside his ears. It was a magnificent and frightening scene, sending chills down one's spine. So this is the lightning calamity of a Grandmaster-level Dan. There was a tinge of awe in the depth of Wang Ting's eyes. This was the dream of countless alchemists. They hoped that they could make a Dan that would attract the lightning calamity. This was the only way they could overcome the invisible barrier and advance to the Grandmaster level. It would be a great honor for them. You can't suppress yourselves too, right? Wang Ting smiled and waved his hand. The lid of black meteorite flew away, and 3 purple streams of light charged out. They formed a tail of purple light as they flew into the sky. 3 lines of purple light. The Grandmasters in the room were staggered. Their eyes widened in amazement. I didn't see anything wrong, right? Those are 3 pills. Am I having an illusion? The Grandmasters stared at the sky in disbelief. Wang Ting flew into the sky, following the 3 Dans closely as they charged out of the opened dome of the building. Let's go and take a look. Grandmaster Hua Yuan and the other 3 Grandmasters regained their senses. They glanced at one another and rushed out. The people waiting outside the room saw the same scene and darted out of the building. They floated in the sky. Grandmaster Wang Ting managed to refine the 9 Essence Soul congealing pill. Wait, why are there 3 Dans? Everyone stared at the 3 flaring balls of light spinning around the beam of white light. They were in a daze. The only emotion left in their hearts was astonishment. 3 Dans at once. This, Grandmaster Curtin couldn't find his voice anymore. The shock on his face was apparent. Oh my god, this Grandmaster made 3 pills at once. Does anyone know this Grandmaster? He's so frightening. He seems unfamiliar, and has not wearing the Secondary Career Alliance attire. Is he not from the Alliance? There was an uproar among the spectators below. Their voices went right up into the sky. Wang Ting changed his appearance after he saw so many people. After all, he hadn't settled his affair with the Cow family, so he shouldn't reveal his ability too soon. Grandmaster Alfred, Grandmaster Hua Yuan, and the others were confused. They didn't understand why Wang Ting's facial features had changed. But they didn't have the time to think, A terrifying lightning bolt boomed in the sky. 3 bolts of lightning shot down from the dark clouds, bringing along a powerful and frightening power of the heavens with them. They smashed into the 3 purple darns within the beam of white light like 3 silver lightning dragons. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 971. The 3 bolts of lightning were appalling. Their power astounded everyone present. Wang Ting was stunned when he saw 3 bolts of lightning. Wang Ting cursed uncontrollably. But he remembered that he made 3 9-essence soul congealing pills, so having 3 bolts of lightning made sense. Who's scared of 3 bolts of lightning? Wang Ting's gaze turned sharp. He disappeared on the spot and flew towards the bolts of lightning. What's this Grandmaster doing? Wait, is he going to receive the lightning personally? This Grandmaster is quite fierce. The audience below was flabbergasted when they saw this scene, almost screaming in shock. Grandmaster Hua Yuan was stunned too. His expression underwent a huge change. Grandmaster Wang Ting is too reckless. As an alchemist, how can he resist the lightning calamity personally? Grandmaster Harrell got anxious. Quick, prepare the defense array of the Alliance. Once something goes wrong, activate it at once, yelled Grandmaster Hua Yuan. The secondary career alliance had its own defense array. There were many grandmasters in the alliance, so they sometimes attracted lightning calamities when making darns or weapons. The alliance building wouldn't be able to withstand the damages by the lightning if they didn't have some protective measures. Also, the martial arts cultivation of alchemists and blacksmiths was normally quite low. Asking them to resist the lightning calamity alone was like sending them to their deaths. Thus, they had to rely on the defense array. The staff in the alliance went to prepare the array. By now, Wang Ting had already reached the first bolt of lightning. A dazzling force glow surrounded his body as he soared into the sky like a small sun. Then, he released a punch into the sky. 4th level strength of Ultima. A huge fist aura smashed into the 3 bolts of lightning. Instantly, a giant explosion reverberated in the sky. Tiny sparks of silver lightning flashed at the point of collision like thin silver snakes scattering across the sky. It was a chilling scene. But the 3 bolts of lightning didn't disperse. They threw the fist aura away and started coming at Wang Ting even more ferociously. A sharp glint flashed across Wang Ting's eyes. He released more punches, unafraid of the lightning. Within a few breaths, he had already thrown out more than 10 punches. Violent force erupted from the punches. The 3 bolts of lightning paused in mid-air. They could no longer move another inch. Under the onslaught of the punches, they exploded and turned into sparks in the sky. Wang Ting bathed in the twinkling lights and activated his Leitang physique silently to strengthen his body. This background made him look like the god of lightning. The people below were in awe. Is this a Grandmaster alchemist? Didn't they say that alchemists are all weaklings? Why is this Grandmaster so powerful? Grandmaster Hua Yuan and the others were dumbstruck. They couldn't accept this reality. Their perspective of the world broke into pieces. Grandmaster Hua Yuan, do we still need to activate the defense array? The staff asked absent-mindedly. Not for now. Grandmaster Hua Yuan regained his composure and waved his hands with a weird expression. With the ability he displayed, he could probably handle this lightning calamity alone. Grandmaster Wang Ting's martial arts cultivation is quite high too. Ji Yuanqing muttered. The corners of Grandmaster Curtin's lips were trembling. He dared to fight the lightning calamity head-on. His cultivation wasn't just quite high, it was very high. He mustn't offend this powerful person. Grandmaster Alfred took a deep breath and glared at Fan Tining behind him. He was angry that Fan Tining didn't introduce Wang Ting properly. If he knew that the other party was so strong, he wouldn't have treated him impolitely. Fan Tining felt wronged. He knew that Wang Ting was powerful, but he didn't know he was already at this stage. That was a lightning calamity. Not everyone could punch it away. Normal people would never be able to do it. After the first lightning bolt was destroyed, the dark and dense clouds in the sky started tossing and turning again. They seemed to be preparing another more powerful bolt. Suddenly, an ear-piercing explosion echoed through the air. The dark clouds seemed to have been torn into two. 3 bolts of lightning, twice as thick as before, shot down from the crack and charged toward the 3 Dans like silver lightning dragons. However, Wang Ting was standing in the middle, so they appeared to be charging at him. Wang Ting's actions were simple. Even though the bolts of lightning were stronger than before, he remained composed. He stared at the sky with the silver-white lightning reflecting in his eyes. Then, he released his fist again. There was no difference in his attack. The same terrifying fist aura surged toward the bolts of lightning. If 1 punch wasn't enough, he would give 2. If 2 weren't enough, he would give 3 punches. The power of heaven and earth. It'll destroy you just like any other opponent. This time, Wang Ting released more than 20 punches before the bolts of lightning collapsed. The scene might be the same, but the bewilderment in the people's hearts got stronger. An alchemist used his fist to overcome the lightning calamity. This might be the most astonishing scene the Grandmasters ever saw in their lives. It overturned their perspective of the world. An alchemist could be this powerful? Many alchemists who just entered the field seemed to be enlightened by Wang Ting's actions. Their eyes were glistening. Heaven seemed exceptionally angry after Wang Ting destroyed 2 of its lightning calamities. Dark clouds surged and churned as numerous bolts of silver lightning flashed through the sky. They slithered through the clouds like giant silver pythons. Looking at them was enough to give one goosebumps. The 3rd lightning calamity took a longer time to prepare. Finally, it shot down. 3 bolts of lightning formed 3 terrifying giant lightning dragons. They bellowed furiously. Their body was 3 times thicker than the 2nd bolt of lightning. Intertwining around one another, they streaked down. This time, the 3 bolts of lightning combined into one. The power more than tripled. The frightening pressure caused everyone to go pale. Many took a step back in fear and started scurrying away. They didn't dare to get any closer as they were afraid of getting injured by the lightning. Grandmaster Hua Yuan clenched his fists tightly, his knuckles cracking. He was nervous, and his gaze was filled with worry. He was afraid that Wang Ting would get killed by this lightning calamity. But since Wang Ting didn't say anything, he couldn't exceed his authority. He could only pray that he would be able to withstand the 3rd lightning strike. The 9 Essence Soul Congealing Pill was a 3rd rank Dan, so there were 3 strikes of lightning. This was the last strike. Once he overcame this, the 9 Essence Soul Congealing Pill would be completed. Wang Ting squinted, but he wasn't afraid. A terrifying aura erupted from his body. A golden mark appeared on his forehead. Blood churned in his body, and a formidable strength swept through him. Then, Wang Ting released his fist again. 4th level strength of Ultima, an indomitable fist aura exploded, along with a powerful force. The fist aura crashed into the lightning dragon, triggering an earth-shattering explosion. Impact waves swept throughout the city. In the next instant, the lightning dragon scattered into numerous sparks. They shimmered in the sky before they got swept into the thick and dark clouds by the residual force of the punch. A large hole appeared in the dense dark clouds, with sunlight shining in through it. This was a straightforward punch. The audience was too shocked to speak. No one could describe their emotions at the moment. They were a complicated mess. Wang Ting put down his hands. The golden mark on his forehead had disappeared. The people below didn't even notice its momentary appearance. Reality proved that some matters could be solved with a single punch. If it couldn't, it meant that the punch wasn't powerful enough. The dark clouds in the sky seemed to have lost all their strength. They dispersed gradually. The countless silver lightning disappeared too. No thunder could be heard anymore. The lightning calamity came and went quickly. It was gone in the blink of an eye. The beam of light below gradually dispersed too. Only the 3 long and sized purple Dans floated in mid-air, giving off a purple and mystical glow. At the same time, a thick fragrance spread throughout the alliance. What pill is this? The Dan fragrance is so strong. This fragrance isn't just about the type of Dan. Its quality must be high too. Everyone finally woke up from their stupor when they smelled the fragrance. They stared curiously at the purple dance in the sky. However, Wang Ting didn't give them the chance to observe longer. He waved his hand and pulled the 3 dans over with his spiritual power. Then, he kept them in a jade bottle. This jade bottle was especially for storing dans. It could ensure its efficacy. He moved and disappeared from everyone's vision. Once the main character of the show disappeared, the audience dispersed too. However, they were still excitedly discussing what they saw just now. This piece of news spread quickly. Many people wondered who Wang Ting was. Many families sent their men to investigate this new Grandmaster alchemist. From the commotion he had created, this Grandmaster's alchemy mastery must be high. He made 3 dans at once, and all of them were of high quality. Normal Grandmaster alchemists weren't capable of this feat. Wang Ting knew that he had caused an uproar in the city. Thus, after he kept the dans, he left to prevent meeting any formidable warriors who came to look for the instigator. He didn't want them to find out his background. In the secondary career alliance, Grandmaster Hua Yuan and the others had returned to the assessment room. They met up with Wang Ting. They were all extremely excited as they walked over. Grandmaster Wang Ting, how can you fight the lightning calamity alone? You almost scared me to death, Grandmaster Hua Yuan complained. As a Grandmaster alchemist, isn't it normal to bear the lightning calamity alone? Wang Ting asked him back. Everyone was in a daze after they heard his reply. They were dumbfounded. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 972. This is a sad story. Normal. The Grandmasters were confused. Was it normal for an alchemist to resist the lightning calamity alone? Why didn't anyone teach them? Did they learn the wrong things? Should alchemists train their physical bodies and increase their martial arts cultivation so that they could withstand the lightning calamity? Grandmaster Hua Yuan, Grandmaster Harrell, and Grandmaster Curtin felt that they needed to understand their field again. Grandmaster Wang Ting, you're indeed. Grandmaster Hua Yuan was caught between laughter and tears. He didn't know how to finish his sentence. Grandmaster Wang Ting is an interesting person. Ji Yuanqing laughed heartily. This is? Wang Ting asked curiously when he saw the unfamiliar face. This is Mr. Ji Yuanqing from the Ji family. The Ji family is one of the 8 dukes in the empire, Alfred introduced. The Ji family. It's my honor to meet you. Wang Ting was stunned. He didn't think that he would meet another powerful faction here. Sinclairman's family was also from one of the 8 dukes. It had only been a while, yet he had already met another family. Didn't they say that these powerful families were all extremely mysterious? Why did he meet 2 of them in such a short time? Both of them interacted with him too. Grandmaster Wang Ting, I came because I want to buy the 9 essence soul congealing pill from you. Ji Yuanqing was direct. Buy the 9 essence soul congealing pill? Wang Ting was surprised. He finally knew Ji Yuanqing's intention. Mr. Ji Yuanqing, how do you know that I was refining the 9 essence soul congealing pill? Ji Yuanqing explained what had happened. So this is the Grandmaster whom I got the prescription from. Wang Ting was enlightened. He glanced at Grandmaster Curtin strangely. He didn't think that he would be so lucky. A random prescription he picked up was able to hook a big fish like the Ji family. Indeed, he was the son of Lady Luck. Wang Teng's luck attribute was much higher than a normal person's, so it would silently show off its effects during crucial times. Unfortunately, after parting with little Ziyi, he never met another luck attribute bubble. Grandmaster Wang Ting, can you let us take a look at the 9 essence soul congealing pills? Grandmaster Curtin asked. He would be lying if he said that he felt nothing. Wang Ting didn't just snatch his chance to befriend the Ji family. He also broke his monopoly on the 9 essence soul congealing pill market. If that was it, he would feel alright. However, the quality of Wang Ting's dance was higher than his. He hadn't reached 20 and was already confirmed to be a grandmaster in 2 fields. There was even a chance that he was a triple field grandmaster. Compared to Wang Ting, he was like a pile of mud. Grandmaster Curtain was unconvinced. He wanted to see how high the quality of Wang Ting's dance was so that he could know the difference between them. That's right. Grandmaster Wang Ting, take it out. We're all very curious, Grandmaster Hua Yuan agreed. Wang Ting nodded. He took out the bottle containing the 9 essence soul congealing pills and placed it on his palm. The Grandmaster alchemists gathered around him and stared intently at the 3 purple darns. Do you all see the 10 patterns on the surface of the pills? Grandmaster Hua Yuan's expression changed as he exclaimed in surprise. There were 10 green patterns on the surface of the purple dan, connecting the 9 crevices together. All 3 darns had the same patterns. Oh my god. You're right. There are 10 patterns. Grandmaster Harrell counted them carefully and gasped in astonishment. 10 patterns. This is a 9 essence soul congealing pill with 100% efficacy. One Grandmaster Curtain's expression changed. He glared at the darns in the bottle and counted the patterns on them again and again. The numbers were correct. There were indeed 10 patterns. How's this possible? Grandmaster Curtain's face turned pale. This was a huge blow to him. He felt even more thunderstruck. It was hard enough to make a pill with 80% to 90% efficacy. If an alchemist could refine a dan with 90% efficacy, he could boast about it for 10 years. As for 100% efficacy, the majority of the grandmasters would never be able to achieve it in their entire alchemy career. Only grandmasters with extremely high mastery might be able to make one out of coincidence. Luck was an important factor here. However, this Grandmaster Wang Ting managed to make a 100% efficacy 9 essence soul congealing pill, and he made 3 at once. Grandmaster Curtain suddenly felt that he was a joke. Why was he even thinking of comparing with Wang Ting? He was nothing at all. Let me take a look, let me take a look. Grandmaster Hua Yuan couldn't bear to shift his gaze away. He seemed to have found a rare treasure. To these Grandmaster alchemists, a 100% efficacy dan had a different significance. Ji Yuanqing was overjoyed. 100% efficacy 9 essence soul congealing pill? If you deliberately plant a flower, it will not bloom, but if you unintentionally plant a willow, it will provide you with shade. Grandmaster Wang Teng, you managed to solve a pressing matter for me by participating in an assessment. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, it looks like you really need this 9 essence soul congealing pill. Wang Teng was elated. This was a favor sent to his doorstep, and that too from a powerful family. Grandmaster Wang Teng, if you sell it to me, I'll purchase it at the highest price and the Ji family will owe you a favor, Ji Yuanqing said seriously. Grandmaster Hua Yuan was hesitant. He was filled with regret. This was a 100% efficacy dan. It was a waste for it to be eaten the moment it was made. But the other party came from a ducal family. He couldn't stop him. Wang Ting was surprised by Ji Yuanqing's generosity. Well, he came from a duke family, so he wouldn't lack money. Wang Ting nodded and smiled. Money is secondary. The most important thing is, we seem to have some fate. If not, I can't bear to sell this 100% efficacy pill. This was bullshit. With his alchemy mastery, he would be able to refine more 100% pills easily. He was just saying this to increase the value of this favor. Fart. Someone suddenly burst out laughing. Wang Ting looked in the direction of the sound and saw many people standing behind Ji Yuanqing. A pretty young lady was covering her mouth and chuckling softly. She seemed to find this situation very funny. Wang Ting nodded. What was so funny? This young lady was bad at controlling her laughter. Ji Yuanqing laughed too. Grandmaster Wang Ting is right. I went an entire round and ended up finding you. Isn't this fate? Wang Ting nodded. Ji Yuanqing was good at talking. Grandmaster Wang Ting, to tell you the truth, my grandfather is in a critical condition, but I didn't bring any money with me. Can you give me a dan first? I'll order my men to send money to your residence soon, Ji Yuanqing asked. Of course. Wang Ting smiled. The Ji family is a large and powerful family. I don't think you'll cheat me for a pill. Ji Yuanqing was delighted by Wang Teng's trust. Wang Teng took out a 9-essence soul congealing pill and placed it in another jade bottle. Then, he passed it to Ji Yuanqing. "Thank you." Ji Yuanqing bowed to Wang Teng gratefully. Then, he left with his men. Grandmaster Curtin felt jealous when he saw Wang Ting striking a deal with Ji Yuanqing. This should be his. The other grandmasters were envious too. The favor of the Ji family wasn't easy to get. This time, the Ji family came to look for him. Wang Ting didn't need to do anything. He was honestly lucky. "Grandmaster Wang Ting, can you sell me a Dan too?" Grandmaster Hua Yuan suddenly asked. "Grandmaster Hua Yuan, do you need a 9-essence soul congealing pill?" Wang Ting was surprised. Alchemists like us need to use our spiritual power all the time so our soul would get exhausted occasionally. Since there's a 100% efficacy 9-essence soul congealing pill here, I don't think I should give it up, Grandmaster Hua Yuan smiled and answered. Grandmaster Harrell and the others reacted and said hurriedly, "Grandmaster Wang Ting, sell me one too." "Grandmaster Wang Ting, sell it to me." "I'm willing to give a higher price," another Grandmaster alchemist said. "Grandmaster Wang Ting, sell it to me. I'll give you a high price and make a weapon for you," a Grandmaster blacksmith said. "Grandmaster Wang Ting, I'm willing to give you a Grandmaster level Dan prescription." The Grandmasters started fighting with one another. Wang Ting was in a daze. He didn't know that 100% efficacy Dans were so popular. Grandmaster Curtin stood at the side and stared at him in jealousy. He felt that his position was in danger. The 9-essence soul congealing pill did not solely belong to him anymore. This was a sad and sorrowful event. "Grandmasters, I only have 2 Dans left. It's hard for me to choose who to sell it to. There's one more set of ingredients. Why don't I make more 9-essence soul congealing pills after my smithery assessment so that all of you can get one?" Wang Ting said with a forced smile. "Grandmaster Wang Ting, are you confident of making 100% efficacy 9-essence soul congealing pills?" Grandmaster Hua Yuan was flabbergasted. "It shouldn't be a problem." Wang Ting nodded. The crowd didn't know if they should believe him or not. After all, it was extremely difficult to make a 100% efficacy pill. Even if he succeeded once, they weren't certain that he could succeed again. If Wang Ting managed to make more 100% efficacy 9-essence soul congealing pills, he would be a genius. Either way, let's wait for the smithery assessment to end first, Grandmaster Hua Yuan said. The other Grandmasters had no choice but to agree. The 100% efficacy 9-essence soul congealing pill was important, but so was the triple Grandmaster title. Wang Ting had already passed 2 Grandmaster assessments. There was only the smithery assessment left. "Finally, it's my turn," a muscular Grandmaster blacksmith chuckled. "Grandmaster Moda, don't be too harsh on him. We're relying on you to see if we can have a triple Grandmaster in our alliance," Grandmaster Alfred reminded him. "Don't worry. With Grandmaster Wang Ting's physique, I'm sure smithery won't be a problem," Grandmaster Moda smiled and replied with shimmering eyes. "You seem confident of me." Wang Ting laughed. "Of course." Grandmaster Moda smiled too. "Grandmaster Wang Ting, please follow me." Chapter 973 Wang Ting followed Grandmaster Moda to the smithery studio. There were 4 Grandmaster blacksmiths overlooking his assessment. All of them were lofty and muscular. They looked like 4 towering bodyguards when they stood around Wang Ting. Their attitude made him feel as if he was surrounded by bodyguards too. These 4 Grandmaster blacksmiths were extremely warm-hearted. They even seemed a little careful. They treated him like a treasure, afraid that he would run away when they weren't looking. Triple Grandmaster title. Once Wang Ting passed the smithery assessment, he would be a triple field Grandmaster. Only one triple field Grandmaster ever appeared in 1,000,000 years. It was understandable why the Grandmaster blacksmiths were treating him dearly. As he chatted with the 4 Grandmasters, Wang Ting counted the gains during his lightning calamity. Besides training his physical body, the lightning calamity also provided some attribute bubbles for him. Constellation Force, Lightning, *1250 Heaven Earth Calamity Lightning *50. There were 1,250 points of Constellation Lightning Force, allowing Wang Ting's lightning force to increase. His constellation lightning force was currently at the 5th level planetary stage. 1250 wasn't a large number, but this was an unexpected gain during the lightning calamity. It would be a waste not to take it. Other people would get nervous when they experienced the lightning calamity, but he had bubbles to gain. He felt good just thinking about it. Of course, the constellation lightning force wasn't the main benefit. The important attribute was in the second bubble, Heaven-Earth Calamity Lightning. This was a huge surprise. He received a lightning calamity attribute bubble when he overcame the lightning calamity. He wondered if Heaven would release 99 bolts of lightning to strike him to death if it knew about this. Although 50 points were quite little, Wang Ting managed to gain a new attribute. A silver-white bolt of lightning was dancing happily in his mind. It shuttled back and forth and even ran to the emerald-glazed flame and the holy flame to provoke them. It kept giving off sparks as it twirled around the flames. Fortunately, Wang Ting gained this bolt of lightning by picking up the attribute bubble. It automatically recognized him as its master, so it didn't wreak havoc in his consciousness. If not, his soul might have been destroyed instantly. The dark flame also received a similar treatment. The bolt of calamity lightning didn't seem to like the dark flame. Once it got near, it turned violent. Wang Ting felt that the calamity lightning was like a rowdy little kid. It threw its sparks at the dark flame and wanted to beat it up. The dark flame wasn't something easy to bully either. It might be a little small, but the calamity lightning was of a similar size too. The dark flame wasn't afraid of the calamity lightning. It formed a tongue with its flames, attempting to extinguish this brat. Wang Ting hurriedly pulled them apart when he noticed their situation. In the past, the same situation had happened between the holy flame and the dark flame. Light and dark were never on the same line. If he didn't place them in two different corners, they wouldn't be able to exist harmoniously. Thus, he was well experienced in such fights and remained exceptionally calm. After pulling the calamity lightning away, Wang Ting had the chance to study this fellow. The more he looked at it, the more he liked it. This was the Heaven-Earth Calamity Lightning. It might be the lowest class of calamity lightning, but it was still calamity lightning. Normal lightning couldn't be compared with it. Wang Ting had experienced the power of the lightning calamity personally. Although he managed to destroy it, it still caused him trouble even when he was already so powerful. This proved that this bolt of lightning was extraordinary. This is good stuff. Wang Ting was elated. He comforted the bolt of calamity lightning. It seemed a little unwilling when he pulled it over from the dark flame. This calamity lightning wasn't a living entity, but it had a tiny hint of intelligence. The emerald-glazed flame, the holy flame, and the calamity lightning all had intelligence. This was what made them extraordinary. Be obedient. I'll find more calamity lightning and make sure you get thicker and fatter. Wang Ting formed an invisible hand with his spiritual power and patted the bolt of calamity lightning. The calamity lightning immediately released some sparks to display its happiness. Ha ha ha. Wang Ting couldn't help but laugh in his heart. Grandmaster Wang Ting, we're here. Grandmaster Mo Des' voice pulled Wang Ting back to the real world. They had entered a room that looked like a smithery studio. There were many tools and facilities here. Blacksmiths needed more tools than alchemists or rune masters. The former only required a furnace while the latter just needed a rune pen. This smithery studio was more high-class than the one on the QYE-63 spacecraft. Grandmaster Wang Ting, you just need to make one Grandmaster-level weapon for this assessment. Do you have any weapons you want to forge? Grandmaster Moda asked. If you don't, the Alliance can prepare the drawing and instructions for one Grandmaster-level weapon. Every participant receives such a treatment. Oh. Wang Ting's eyes lit up. He understood. No wonder he was given many things for free when he took the rune assessment and the alchemy assessment. He was gifted 3 Grandmaster-level rune arrays during his rune assessment, and the ingredients for his dan were free too. Both of them were precious and worth lots of money. Can I take a look at the weapons? Wang Ting asked. Grandmaster Moda smiled. He tapped the table lightly with his right hand, and a screen appeared in front of Wang Ting. There were all kinds of strange-looking items displayed on it, including long swords, bows, giant axes, and many more. All their styles were different. These are all Grandmaster-level weapons. You can take a look first, Grandmaster Moda said. Wang Ting nodded, going through the items quickly. He only took a glance at the swords and blades because they had no special traits even though they were of high quality and were at the Grandmaster level. Thus, he didn't put much attention to them. The screen could be scrolled using his finger. The universe was highly advanced. Everything was convenient. Wang Ting flipped through the pages one by one. Soon, he was on the last page. The Grandmasters glanced at one another. Was he unsatisfied with all these Grandmaster-level weapons? At that moment, Wang Ting's gaze paused on an extremely unique weapon. This was a square seal. It was purple and gold in color, and there were lightning patterns and beasts carved on it. There was a short introduction below. Lightning Element Spiritual Kinesis Weapon. You can make it bigger or smaller if you carve the relevant runes on it. It contains lightning energy and you can hurl it out using spiritual kinesis. It's extremely heavy and can release lightning too. This is an extremely powerful weapon. Note, this is a ruthless weapon. It's used to slap one's forehead. The person who gets slapped will die a gory death. Please use it carefully. Use it carefully. Wang Ting's expression turned strange as he read to the end. For some reason, his hands started to get a little itchy. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 974. Grandmaster Moda was stunned when he saw Wang Ting's gaze stopping on the lightning slap. Grandmaster Wang Ting, are you planning to forge this lightning slap? Grandmaster Moda exclaimed in surprise. I feel that I'm fated with this lightning slap. Wang Ting laughed. A strange idea took root in his mind. He couldn't douse his excitement. But, to tell you the truth, the difficulty of forging this weapon is a little high. Also, it requires rare materials. One of the materials, the dark weight luminary gold, is extremely rare. I have only seen it twice in my entire life. This is why this lightning slap was put on the last page, Grandmaster Moda said in a helpless tone. That's right. Grandmaster Wang Ting, the dark weight luminary gold is too scarce. We don't have it in the Alliance, another Grandmaster blacksmith chimed in. Dark weight luminary gold? The smile on Wang Ting's face got brighter. I have it. You have it. The four Grandmaster blacksmiths were shocked. That's why I said there's an affinity between me and the lightning slap. Wang Ting smiled, and a golden brick appeared in his hand. Take a look. Is this dark weight luminary gold? The eyes of the Grandmaster blacksmiths lit up. They hurried over to take a closer look. This is really the dark weight luminary gold. Grandmaster Moda was staggered. Based on its weight, I think it's enough to forge the lightning slap, Grandmaster Jiao Gaofeng said. This was another Grandmaster blacksmith. He was a human, and he was weighing the golden brick in his hand. Ha ha ha, seems like this is really fate, another Grandmaster blacksmith from the ape race said. This was Grandmaster Bok. He was tall, muscular, and dark, just like a black ape. Grandmaster Wang Ting, I'm so envious of you. You even have the rare dark weight luminary gold, Grandmaster Moda said. I was lucky. Wang Ting smiled. Anyway, why did you make a brick with it? The last Grandmaster blacksmith, Grandmaster Gaunt, was a human too. There was a strange expression on his face as he spoke. I'm used to a brick. Wang Ting chuckled. The four Grandmasters finally understood why Wang Ting chose the lightning slap. It had the same use as a brick. We have no more questions since the materials are all here. I'll ask someone to collect the other materials that are available in the Alliance, Grandmaster Moda said. Okay, thank you, Grandmaster Moda. Wang Ting nodded. You're welcome. Grandmaster Moda smiled and waved his hands. After some time, the staff sent the materials needed for the lightning slap to the smithery studio. Grandmaster Wang Ting, if you have no other questions, you can start. Grandmaster Moda passed the space ring with all the materials to Wang Ting. Wang Ting nodded. He placed all the materials on the table. Oh right, there's one more thing. Forging a Grandmaster-level weapon will cause a lightning calamity too. You should be prepared, Grandmaster Moda said. At first, he felt that any reminders were unnecessary after seeing how ferocious Wang Ting was when he fought with the lightning calamity. However, he remembered that this was his third assessment, so he might have exhausted much of his spirit and energy. In the end, he still chose to warn him. He had asked Wang Ting if he needed some time to rest to recover his spirit, but he rejected him. Wang Ting's expression changed slightly. Forging a Grandmaster level will attract the lightning calamity too? That means that I can pick up more calamity lightning attributes. My bolt of calamity lightning can grow stronger too. This was the difference between him and others. Ordinary people would be worried about the lightning calamity, but he was thinking about the benefits he could receive. I'll take note. He thanked Grandmaster Moda. Thank you for your reminder. Then, he placed his focus on the materials on the table. His expression turned serious. Compared to the hundreds of ingredients needed to make a Grandmaster level Dan, forging a weapon required much fewer materials. However, it wasn't any easier. Wang Ting raised his palm. An emerald flame sprung up on his hand. With a wave of his hand, the emerald flame turned into a fire dragon and flew towards the fire vent below the smithing table. It started burning below the table. This temperature, this is a divine flame. The 4 Grandmaster blacksmiths were flabbergasted. They stared at the emerald-glazed flame in bewilderment. With their eyesight, they could naturally tell that this was a divine flame. Blacksmiths needed flames to help them with their forging. Fire was as important to blacksmiths as alchemists. Thus, when they saw the divine flame, their eyes turned red. They were filled with envy. In summary, they had the same expression as when the Grandmaster alchemists saw the emerald-glazed flame. Wang Ting disregarded their expressions. This wasn't the first time it had happened. He wrapped a piece of metal with his spiritual power and threw it into the flame. With the help of the flame's high temperature, the metal started to melt and turn into liquid. It moved around in the flames. Wang Ting then threw in the other materials to refine them. He separated the flame into more than 10 portions. Each portion enveloped one material. None of them affected each other. Very soon, only 2 materials were left. One was the dark weight luminary gold and the other was a purple crystal. This was the cloud lightning crystal. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 975, Dark Weight Luminary Gold was a unique metal or that would change its weight according to the amount of force instilled in it. As for the cloud lightning crystal, it was a lightning element crystal that could store and attract lightning force. These were the 2 main ingredients of the lightning slap. Wang Ting's gaze turned serious. He thought for a moment and placed the golden brick made of dark weight luminary gold into the furnace. This brick that had accompanied him for a long time was melted into a golden liquid. He felt sad for some reason. Farewell, my dear brick. Next was the cloud lightning crystal. He picked up the cloud lightning crystal with his spiritual power and threw it into the emerald-glazed flame. Upon touching the flame, sparks started jumping on its surface. It made a crackling sound. The 4 Grandmasters stared at this scene with wide eyes. They were a little nervous. But soon, the scorching heat engulfed the sparks on the surface of the crystal and the palm-sized cloud lightning crystal transformed into a ball of purple liquid. Wang Ting heaved a sigh of relief. The cloud lightning crystal was extremely hard to refine. It wouldn't melt as easily if he had used a normal flame. Fortunately, he had a divine flame that helped him to suppress the lightning energy compressed in the crystal. Grandmaster Moda exchanged glances with his colleagues. They were astounded. The divine flame was indeed extraordinary. Even the cloud lightning crystal was easily melted. Wang Ting's gaze turned intense. It was time to merge all the materials. He controlled his spiritual power and poured all the other materials into the liquid form of the dark weight luminary gold. He was exceptionally careful during the entire process. Every single step and the proportion of materials were by the book. However, compared to making darns, this process was simpler. After all, there were fewer ingredients. Sometime later, all the materials had merged into the dark weight luminary gold. But its color was still gold. There was no change. Finally, Wang Ting shifted his gaze to the liquid form of the cloud lightning crystal. With his thoughts, the liquid crystal gradually went closer to the liquid gold, which had merged with all the other ingredients. A shrill hissing sound was heard continuously. The cloud lightning crystal seemed to despise the dark weight luminary gold. They were at a standstill. Wang Ting didn't think that these two materials would have such a hard time combining. They seemed to be archenemies. Fortunately, he was patient and calm. He didn't lose his composure in this situation. Instead, he controlled his spiritual power and decreased the speed of the merging. He combined the two materials together as if he was boiling soup over low heat. His method lowered the resistance between the two materials. The four grandmasters nodded their heads silently. Although young, Grandmaster Wang Ting seemed extremely experienced in forging. He wasn't impatient and kept his composure well. No wonder he had such achievements at a young age. They would have been extremely proud of themselves if they were 1/10 as patient as Wang Ting when they were young. Time passed slowly. Around 6 hours later, under Wang Ting's patience and effort, the cloud lightning crystal finally merged into the dark weight luminary gold. The liquid metal was no longer gold anymore. There were lines of lightning-like purple patterns on the surface. It was strange and beautiful. Wang Ting opened his eyes and nodded in satisfaction when he saw the condition of the metal after the merging. He kept his emerald-glazed flame. As the temperature subsided, the liquid metal slowly turned solid. He used his spiritual power to place it on the smithing table. Wang Ting remained on his knees as he grabbed the two smithing hammers on the table with his spiritual power. The two smithing hammers were more than 100 kilograms. They floated in the air as if they were held by invisible large hands and pounded the metal on the table. The grandmasters were stunned. They knew from Grandmaster Hua Yuan that Wang Ting was a divine spirit master, but this was their first time seeing such a smithing method. They didn't know how to describe their feelings. Normally, they would wield the hammers personally and use their strong physical bodies to forge the weapon. Yet, Wang Ting used his spiritual power to do it. He looked extremely relaxed too. It was vastly different from their usual forging style. No, it was different from all the blacksmith. Grandmaster Wang Ting was unconventional. Grandmasters, do you have additional hammers I can use? Wang Ting's voice suddenly sounded in their ears. He felt that the progress of the two hammers was a little slow. Hence, he wanted to use more of them. This would quicken the process. The four grandmasters were shocked. Did he think that 2 hammers weren't enough? Grandmaster Wang Ting, how many do you need? Grandmaster Moda asked helplessly. As many as you have, Wang Ting replied casually. The 4 Grandmaster blacksmiths looked at one another. Grandmaster Wang Ting, are you serious? Shall we lend you our hammers? Grandmaster Moda hesitated and asked. Sure. Wang Ting nodded. Grandmaster Moda acted instantly. He glanced at the other 3 grandmasters, and all of them took out their hammers. Wang Ting pulled the hammers over with his spiritual power easily. The hammers of these 4 grandmaster blacksmiths were heavier than the 2 provided by the Alliance. But it wasn't a problem for Wang Ting. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 976, Grandmaster Wang Ting is unconventional. 3. The addition of the 4 hammers increased the speed greatly. The 6 hammers wielded down on the metal violently. They moved so quickly that one could only see their lingering shadows. There were 6 hammers, yet they moved in an orderly fashion. After one was done, the next would move down immediately. Despite there being no gap between them, they didn't hit one another. There was a specific rhythm to the 6 hammers, like they were synchronized cogs of a machine. They weren't hammering at random. This was the hard part of smithery. If you just hammered randomly, the final product would be scrap metal. It would be useless. A real smithery occurred when you grasped the characteristics of the metal ore and merged them together during the hammering process. At the same time, you must ensure that these characteristics were released to their greatest potential. The 4 grandmasters couldn't blink. They were dumbfounded. They lost their voices as they stared at Wang Ting's unconventional hammering method. They had neither seen nor heard of such a method before. They felt that their past smithery experience was just child's play. There was nothing to compare. The grandmasters even started to suspect their abilities. Wang Ting didn't know what they were thinking. He was focused on controlling the 6 hammers to combine all the materials properly. Only the clanging of the hammers could be heard in the room. Another 2 hours passed. Under Wang Ting's hammering, the metal block started to shrink. After smelting all the ingredients, the metal block was 3 feet wide. Now, it was only the size of a palm. It had also been hammered into a rectangle. This was the billet of the lightning slap. It would become the lightning slap after runes were carved on it. Somehow, I feel that this billet's shape is different from the lightning slaps, Grandmaster Moda asked after some hesitation. Indeed, it's different. It looks the same as Grandmaster Wang Ting's golden brick. Grandmaster Bok thought of something and smiled uncontrollably. The other grandmasters were speechless. He was obsessed. Did he love bricks so much? But the shape wasn't important. It wouldn't affect the final quality of the lightning slap, so they didn't say much. Naturally, Wang Ting couldn't read their minds. He was satisfied when he saw the shape of the metal. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, he was used to having a brick and would need some time to get used to a new shape. Thus, he chose not to change it. He needed to carve the runes now. At first, this process required the help of rune masters, but Wang Ting was already a rune grandmaster. Naturally, he didn't need any help. The emerald-glazed flame appeared again and enveloped the palm-sized lightning slap billet. But this time, the flame didn't melt it. It just nourished the metal one last time. At the same time, Wang Ting was using his spiritual power to carve runes on the surface of the brick. His spiritual power silently slid over the surface, and runes appeared. They formed mystical patterns on the surface of the brick. Halfway through, when he was carving a lightning element rune, he had a sudden idea. Since this was a lightning element weapon, what would happen if he added a small amount of calamity lightning? Wang Ting's gaze shimmered. Soon, he made his decision. A string of calamity lightning surged out of his forehead. He instilled it into the rune he was carving on the billet. This was just a last-minute thought, but he didn't mind giving it a try. If it failed, he could start over. But if he succeeded, there might be surprises. After all, calamity lightning was anything but ordinary. Unexpectedly, the process was exceptionally smooth. No accidents happened, and the calamity lightning was instilled into the billet successfully. The 4 grandmasters didn't notice anything amiss. They thought that Wang Ting was carving the runes based on the instructions. Time gradually passed. Approximately half an hour later, Wang Ting finally completed his carvings. Suddenly, a glaring purple and golden light glowed on the surface of the billet. The grandmasters sat up straight. Success! Just as this thought appeared in their hearts, the forces around them started to get restless. A purple-golden beam of light shot into the sky, forming a light pillar. Boom! The lightning slap soared into the sky too and smashed the roof of the Alliance ruthlessly, leaving behind a big hole. 3 boom! Dark clouds started gathering above the Alliance. Thunder roared and lightning clapped. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.